Okay, I'm sharing screen. Am I sharing screen?
Right.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon there across the nation, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I'm Alan Bergano. This is our third session of this year's Filipino American History Month 101 Zoom event. And before we get started, we will get started with a moment of silence. Let's bow our heads and think about those who could not be with us tonight, especially those who left the Philippines, who came to the United States, who put a roof over our heads, food in our stomachs, and to provide us opportunities that were denied to them. Okay, this is session 3, and we are going to, well, from the last week, we learned about some interesting stories from the post-1965 generation as a result of the immigration law of 1965, where we have a tremendous increase of Filipinos that entered to this country, starting off at 50 a month back in 1935 to 100 after World War II. Then all of a sudden it jumped up to 20,000 in 1965. And when you talk about how significant that population is today, I would wager to say anywhere between 70 to 80% of Filipino Americans today are a result of the post-1965 immigration law. And what's interesting is, can everybody mute, please? And what's interesting about that is, due to their significance, very little is written about them in Filipino American history books. I kind of wonder what's being taught in Filipino American history classes. So the whole intent today is to provide some perspective from that specific group. And hopefully this will be a stimulus for you post-1965ers to take your family's history. Because family, when it comes to Filipino American history, history starts at home. So interview your mom, dad, Lolo, Lola, because those are the American pioneers. Ask them what it was like when they first left the Philippines, and we'll go from there. Today, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to talk about changing communities. We've got different workplaces, elected officials. Now, some of the elected officials could not make it because this is Philippine American History Month. They have functions to speak at. So, but the ones that are here, they will, we're glad to have these folks. And then the retention of culture. So with that said, Auntie Dorothy, would you like to take up and make some comments? Auntie Dorothy? Auntie Dorothy?
She's on mute. If someone can help Auntie Dorothy unmute.
Yeah.
Auntie Dorothy, unmute.
Yeah. Okay, very briefly. October 18th is the day that we declare Filipino American History Day. And that sets off the celebration that's going on all over the country for History Month. Eloisa Bora, one of our trustees from Los Angeles, was the one who did the research going through ship's logs, the ship logs of the Spaniards who were on the galleon trays, and they found a reference to a place with a huge rock, huge rock, and the landing party that goes aboard and met by the people who lived there. There was a skirmish, they couldn't understand each other. Two of the people were mortally wounded, they fled back to the boat. And I would imagine they couldn't have time to bury them. But Eloisa said that that was actually the first documented presence of Filipinos, people we know as Filipinos today, in the continental, well, this part of the United States, or the continent of North America. There could have been earlier ones, but there was no documentation. And one thing that's FANHS tries to do, that we make a declaration, we make sure that there's some documentation that backs what we're saying, especially something that's a national and now international celebration. So thank you, everybody who's today. You are the ones who are representing what is Filipino American life today.
Very good. Okay, and I would like to take it over, have our moderator, Dr. Tino, take over. He is the Seattle chapter president. I met Tino's dad back in the 80s. We were parked in his neighborhood, and unfortunately, one of his neighbors broke my friend's mirror. But that's how I remember your neighborhood there, Tino. It's kind of, rough to outsiders. But thank you for volunteering to become our moderator. So take it over there, Dr. Tino. You got it.
Thank you so much, Uncle Alan, for the introduction. And I'd like to take a moment to thank Auntie Dorothy Cordova as well. I'd like to thank all the family in the space. I think it's a blessing to be able to have these discussions and to be selected to moderate such a piece. The first thing I want to talk about as well is the acknowledgement of why Filipino American History Month is important. With that said, I want to thank everyone that is going to be presenting today. I'm going to go over some ground rules before I jump into what I'm going to talk about. We have 7 minutes, folks. When it hits 1 minute, I'm going to respectfully inform you that you have 1 minute to continue. The reason being is that there are so many stories in the Filipino American multiverse that we are yet to uncover, that pieces like this truly is impactful for the next generation of Filipino Americans. A goal for me today in being the moderator is to take an opportunity to say thank you to all the brilliant people in the room, from Herb from San Diego all the way to Professor Dan Gonzalez from San Francisco, our people out in DMV like Uncle Alan Bergano, and the likes of so many others who are doing great work in the Filipino American community. Why it's beautiful today, folks, is that how often do we get to sit in solidarity to talk about the stories of our people through millennium? Because in my opinion, Filipino American history is American history. My family got to the United States in 1904, and we persisted in the multiverse of Filipinos ever since. For me, as a fourth-generation American-born individual with the roots to the archipelago of the Philippines, for me, it's been a journey to reconnect to my people, to where I had to play professional baseball in the Philippines, to reconnect to San Juan, La Union, Negros, Cebu, and to Laguna, Kubuya. And it was a journey for me as someone of the new generation. And it was a blessing to have pillars such as Auntie Dorothy and others to be able to follow the breadcrumbs to connect back to the motherland, the Philippines. So hopefully today, folks, we can be in solidarity today, as now is the most interesting time to be in solidarity. As Filipino AOX Americans, as Filipinos, and as people who are from the archipelago or from the diaspora of the Philippines. With that said, everyone, I'm very blessed to be here. We have some awesome folks coming in, going to be sharing their stories with you today. A piece I wanted to share in solidarity, my family is considered one of the oldest documented Filipino American families from San Francisco, California, originally from the Fillmore district. My mom came in 1955. That's when her family immigrated here. My grandfather was part of the military. That is the Tagalog side, and that is my mother. On my father's side, that's the Ilocano-Visayan mix, only made in America, usually. And for my parents, they, again, got here as early as 1904. Again, it's a blessing to be part of this conversation because we're truly bridging the gap between a fourth generation born American to my people from the Philippines. And it was a blessing that when I lived in the Philippines, specifically in Taguig, When I played for the Alabang Tigers and the Cebu Dolphins, I had an opportunity to reconnect. And that is what we're doing here today. Why this is important, again, folks, I'm going to stress this throughout the piece, is that I'm thinking about the children of tomorrow and their children. I'm thinking about the people that are going to be carrying the flag for us in the future, that are going to be making the decisions to politically influence America. And that is why this discussion is so important. And I'm very thankful for you all to participate in solidarity today. Because in my opinion, the dichotomy between Filipino Americans and Filipinos born in the Philippines should be one of discussion, but there should not be one because we all come from the Philippines. So with that said, everyone, peace and blessings to you. This is going to be a day of celebration, a day to inform, and the day of learning. Equally, why I have this behind me is this represents solidarity. This is the I Hotel, folks, from San Francisco, California, when we stood in solidarity with various other cultural groups, where we were able to stand against oppression and to build as a community. That is our goal. And that's something as the president of the Greater Seattle FANHS chapter, we try to instill. And my hope is in collaborations with the national entities such as Romeo and Auntie Dorothy and the rest of the FANHS community, nationally and globally, that we can come together as a people so that we can be stronger for our next generation of leaders, scholars, practitioners, and activists. So with that said, everyone, I think I talked way too much. I'm introducing someone that I'm so blessed to introduce. When I lived in San Diego, this individual was introduced to me by the name of a man named Dr. Dario Villa. He introduced me to Herb and his awesome wife, Judy, in San Diego, and I was so blessed to meet them when I was working at San Diego State University. So a little bit about the speaker really quick. Herb was born and raised in Delano, California, and is a retired San Diego Unified School District elementary school principal. He's active in the community, specifically supporting Delano and those FANHS chapters, and he has been doing great work for us. Without further ado, folks, let me introduce you to Herb Delute. Herb, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Timo. I don't have much time, so I'm going to jump right in, okay? I have a PowerPoint, but I'm going to do a quick introduction. My full name is Heriberto David Delute. I'm a proud son of a Delano Mono. I was named after my father, Heriberto, who arrived from Hinonongan of Southern Lakes in 1928 with his townmates. They all worked together in the hot grape fields, the cool lettuce fields, the peach orchards, the backbreaking asparagus fields, and the challenging Alaskan canneries. When Japan bombed the Philippines, my father's age was a factor in him not enlisting in World War II. What he wanted to do his part, so he joined the Merchant Marines and risked his life to be on shift to transport soldiers and supplies to Japan. As a result of the anti-miscegenation laws in California, he did not marry until he was 50 years old. He went back to the Philippines and married his pen pal, my mother, Cornelia David, which is how I received my middle name. My parents and sister lived in a labor camp like many Filipino families, but we were able to buy a house when I was born. We worked in the fields picking grapes. I received my Social Security and work permit when I was 14 years old, and continued to pick grapes in the summer as an adult when I didn't have to teach summer school. On September 8, 1965, my parents, like all the Filipino workers, bravely walked out to start the Delano grape strike. But to feed 5 children, to build a new house, my parents had no choice but to go back to work in the fields. At one point, my 5 brothers and sisters, parents, and uncle all worked together to pick grapes. After a hard day work in the fields, my father would grow vegetables and sell them to families visiting Delano. My mother would bring us with her to sell Filipino desserts such as biko, suman, and banangka to the Manongs and the Delano camps. I love to accompany my mom because I was always get a chance to sample the delicious meals made by the Filipino cooks. When Agbiani Retirement Village opened, my father would visit the other monarchs. Until he was no longer able to, my father worked in the fields well into his 70s. After my father died, my mother continued work, but in a carrot picking shed like many of the Filipino women. She worked until she suffered a major stroke, and as a tribute to my parents and family community. I am a member and a past president of FANHS Delano chapter who planned the 60th anniversary of the Delano Grave Strike. Now let's talk about my education. I'm going to have a PowerPoint, so I'm going to show this. I'm going to share this now. Okay, so give me a second. Can you see the PowerPoint? Can you see it? Okay,
Yeah, very good.
So my agenda is who am I, how am I involved with the Filipino community, and I changed the title to The Growth of Filipino Educators versus Teachers. In 1978, I was excited to be hired to teach Filipino students who had arrived in San Diego at Cerro High School. In 1989, one of the best decisions I made was to join the Filipino American Educators Philomena of San Diego with other second-generation teachers and counselors. My first wife, Evangeline Lopez Delute, taught the first Filipino language class in San Diego. She unfortunately died from cancer. I later became involved with FANHS and was fortunate to marry Dr. Judy Patoxo, who taught the Filipino American experience at Miramar College of San Diego. You could say I had firsthand experience with the Filipino language classes and the Filipino American experience classes. For 10 years, I had the honor to be a vice principal in San Diego School, which had the largest number of Filipino students. I was the president of the Filipino American Educators in San Diego, also at the statewide level. In San Diego Unified, I was also a member and chairperson of the Asia Pacific Islander Advisory Council to the superintendent. What I have here were the numbers, and this was done as a result of Lagaya Avenida. In 1988, 89, we had about 100,000 students in California, Filipino students. The next screen talks about the number of Filipino administrators, and basically we had about because at the bottom captures both totals of men and women. So we had about almost over 1,500 teachers in 1988. What I then did is I went to the California Department of Education's website, where you can look at the data. And what I want to emphasize, like if you look at the top line where the Filipino educators as students, if you look at also our numbers are dropping. But interestingly enough, the number that starts increasing are the students reporting 2 or more races. As you probably understand, a lot of our families are multiracial. So even though it looks like our numbers are dropping, technically it's because they're reporting themselves to be multiracial. The next box that you see is the number of educators that we had in California from 2015 to 2019. And you can see the numbers increasing. The data is not available after 2020 because of COVID, and there's some issues from the unions that involve that. But then the bottom, if you look at it, the number of administrators have been increasing each year as a result of that. Now 2024, 25, we have 407. So those are the numbers, but I want to go through quickly because the more important, like the numbers of Filipino Americans have increased. The initial groups were initially women that taught elementary school, but then we got the Kuya influence, such as Felix Tuyé at Southwestern College, South Florida at San Diego State. They started being role models to get the high school students to encourage them to become post-secondary options. And like myself, the 1.5 a second generation became teachers and counselors at the time when education funds were cut because of Prop 13. Then there became the creation of professional organization like I talked about myself at the K-12 level, post-secondary level, at the local and state level. So all these organizations started coming up. But then we started having people coming through the college rank, such as Dr. Ray Monzon at San Diego State, Dr. Judy Patuxo, my wife, Miramar. They started mentoring and supporting college students to create post-secondary college degrees. Dr. Monzon helped them with their doctorate degrees and masters. Judy helped them with their counseling credential on how to get to student services. But then we had elected assembly members and board members such as Lee David, Ali Ricasa Bagapora, and Attorney General Rob Bonta. And also they began promoting administrators. And the key is that they're all in decision-making roles. The issues were the ones that drove the number of Filipino students. If you look at it, we needed role models. We had boys involved in gangs, girls with a higher suicide rate, the struggle between the Filipino American boards. And we had the retention rate of Filipinos in college was not very high, but they started addressing it. We had no child left behind, which caused us to support the CSEP program to be able to teach Filipino in California. And then we had the curriculum, the inclusion of the Filipino farm labor movement, World War II, Larry Itilong Day, ethnic studies, and there's a Phil Vet rep with duty to country. So the issues start driving the number of educators. But one of the things I want to emphasize, like, what is the challenge? Is sustainability. You need to involve the community and businesses. We need to maintain the pipeline of Filipino-American educators at all levels, but also specific content, Filipino language, Filipino history and culture, Filipino-American identity. We need to have councils and continue to research, because now they're doing research about our community. We need leaders and administrators. We need to identify, develop, and support of all the above positions, but also we need to get elected positions. And this is the key thing. We need to tell them our needs and tell them our ask. We want to celebrate Filipino-American History Month. We want to celebrate October 25th, and all that. We want to make sure these curriculum are taught where they're supposed to be taught. We need to demand and implement the curriculum that reflects our students. And you know what? The key thing is the two collaboration of professional organizations to address the above items. And here's interesting. People define collaboration as like, I attend your event, you attend. No, it's me really coming together. Like, we have these pipelines we need to address. We need to be able to address that. So at that point, thank you. Again, I'm Herb Delute. This is who I am. I know I was a little bit over, but I try to get through as fast as I can, Tino. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, I had to leave for my own Filipino-American History Month, but thank you. And I think thank you, Auntie Dorothy, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Herb. Folks, let me give a round of applause for Herb, virtually. You know, what Herb and Judy are doing in San Diego is darn near extraordinary. So I just want to give kudos to Herb and to Judy, always rocking the Padres here, always rocking the Padres here. But, you know, I just want to acknowledge them for all the work they did and they're doing in San Diego, because when I had been blessed to stay in the region with House of the Philippines and collaborating with FANHS, definitely was a blessing to be part of their community, their tribe, and very thankful for you. And, you know, say hello to Auntie Judy. And I know she's working an event as well in the South Bay. So, you know, thank you so much. Say hi to Uncle Dario and have a blessed day, Herb. We appreciate you. All right, folks. You know, it's kind of cool to be part of this discussion, because doesn't it feel like we're the Avengers like assembling? Like, it feels like, you know, Avengers like assemble, you know, the part where Captain America is like, let's assemble. It kind of feels like that right now. I just want to acknowledge it, because, you know, how often do we have these conversations? I know when I got my doctorate degree, there weren't that many Filipinos having such discussions. So it's nice to highlight everyone. And again, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So with that said, folks, it's now time to transition to our next awesome presenter, born and raised in Hawaii. What's going on, Auntie? This is Edwina, a third generation Filipino American who grew up on the North Shore of Hawaii, who blessed me, that was at my presentation in Houston with Uncle Alan. And I'm going to kick it over to you, Auntie. With no further ado, folks, this is Auntie Edwina Bergano.
Bergano, hi. Hi, everyone. How are you? I guess, can you all hear me, right? Yes, okay. So I'm going to be talking about the experiences of a third generation Filipino American helping to contribute to our community here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So good afternoon, everyone from across the country. My name is Edwina Lapa Bergano, and I am honored to share my experiences as a third generation Filipino American whose journey to Virginia Beach began in 1983. Many of the Filipinos were part of the community who immigrated to Virginia because of the 1965 Immigration Act. I'm grateful for the opportunity to reflect my personal path and contribution to our vibrant community. As the topic goes, this is part of the changing community, and I'm part of being part of that changing community, but as a third Filipino-American generation, it was really a different experience. So as my biography notes, my grandparents immigrated to Hawaii in the early 1920s to work as laborers on the sugar plantations. Both my parents were born and raised in Hawaii and had no connections to relatives in the Philippines. My father retired from the real estate profession, while my mother completed her career at Tripler Army Hospital. Our family background is humble and rooted in a resilient spirit and determination to do whatever it takes to survive. Growing up, my parents primarily spoke the Visayan language, as my grandparents were not fluent in English. I had visited the Philippines 3 times, with the most recent trip in 2013 when I traveled with my mother to Cebu. This journey was in honor of my father, who hoped to visit the Philippines but passed away before he could do so. I was fortunate to attend the University of Washington, where I met my husband, Dr. Alan Bergano. Together we considered joining friends in Richmond, Virginia, but ultimately chose Virginia Beach because of its proximity to the water and the large Filipino community. We were surprised by the significant number of Filipinos living near the largest naval base in the world. My husband became the first Filipino American dentist to establish a practice in Virginia Beach, Virginia in 1983. This was a major undertaking for us, as neither of us came from a business background. Nevertheless, we took the leap, and with my graduate degree in public administration and experience in community engagement, helped us build a practice through outreach and educational events focused on the Filipino American experience. As we became acquainted with the Filipino American community in Hampton Roads, primarily in Virginia Beach, I observed unique communication practices. For example, instead of saying someone was married to a Caucasian or a white person, people would say they were married to an American. I also referred to elders as manong or manang in Hawaii rather than auntie or uncle. One surprising custom was that elders often tried to negotiate dental fee services. I later learned that was a common practice in the Philippines. I was also struck by the number of medical professionals in the community, including many physicians and nurses. The community thrived in large part due to the fundraising efforts for the Philippine Cultural Center, led by the United Filipino Organizations of Tidewater, otherwise called CUFOT. These experiences are documented on the link in my bio by Dr. Sin Romero, chairwoman of the CUFOT, describes these experiences. Drawing on my background in grant writing, I secured the first grant for the Philippine Folk Dance Program for the United Ilocano Association of Tidewater. Notably, there were no competition amongst different groups for these opportunities. In 1990, my husband and I officially chartered the Filipino American National Historical Society Hampton Roads chapter. Our chapter became one of many organizations affiliated with the Council of United Filipino Organizations of Tidewater, known as CUFOT. In 2025, the PCC will celebrate 25 years since its opening in 2000. It was the same year our FANHS chapter hosted the FANHS National Conference at Virginia Wesleyan College and was able to witness this opening. Like Filipino American communities across the United States, ours has faced stories of conflict, struggle, and joyful triumphants in overcoming obstacles to establish a center for community gatherings, as well as other challenges of life. As an example, our community supported our struggle when my husband and I had to fight the city of Virginia Beach, who denied funding to us to relocate our dental practice due to the widening of the road. The community came to support our rally. We won both lawsuits with the city of Virginia Beach and the Commonwealth of Virginia as a landmark case in treating small businesses. These stories are invaluable, connecting generations and fostering a sense of unity. The ongoing challenge to maintain interconnection and appreciation for the contributions of the past, present, and future generations. I believe we all have a role in this process, ensuring that our community continues to live, thrive, and support one another. It is through this spirit that we will ultimately survive as a community. That's it.
Thank you so much, Auntie. That was awesome.
Okay.
And hearing the stories, I feel like it resonates. It resonates with me because, my sister, she lives in Hawaii. She's in Oahu, specifically living in Waikele. And the acknowledgement my family also was on the Big Island. They were working on the plantation. So the cicadas have been such a pivotal point in history for us.
Mhm.
Equally, when we think of the military influence and how the Filipinos were all over Hawaii, right? So I think that is a beautiful story, and thank you so much for sharing with us. Specifically, when I think of the North Shore, it's such a different experience than being in town. So just that acknowledgement of the different populations of Filipino Americans living in Hawaii,
Yeah.
not to mention Oahu, Maui, the Big Island, Kauai are all different. And again, go ahead,
I
Auntie.
wanted to say something, Tina, real quick, and it was really different coming to Virginia because they're not used to speaking out for what's right because with the military they have a certain way of thinking. So when my husband and I talked about Filipino American history, or that we need more books in the library, which we had the largest collection at one time because they bought all the books, they thought we were radicals that time. But my husband and I, we come from grassroots organizing. My uncle is a labor union leader in Hawaii, and which is what I named after him. He got the highest rank of wages for the plantation workers in the 80s. But it's been a really interesting, we've been here 43 years now, and we learned to love our community no matter where you are, whether I came from a plantation background or someone comes from a doctor family. I think there's one thing we have is be able to support each other, have family, and that we can get through it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Auntie. And you know what? To me, that's Ohana 101 right there.
That's
In my
right.
opinion. Also, shout out to the Hawaii chapter, Dr. Patricia Brown out there in Hawaii. We want to shout out to them.
That's right.
Next up, folks, we're going to transition. Thank you so much, Auntie. Is Dr. Pinky in the house? Dr. Pinky, are you in the house? Because I know you are set from Houston. Going once, going twice. All right, folks, as you know, this is a Filipino Funds event, so folks are coming in and out because of Filipino History Month. So with that, we're going to transition to our next speaker, Dr. Alexander Africa. Doc, I hope I pronounced the last name correctly, but let me throw out your awesome bio. Originally from Lipa City, Batangas, shout out to Batangas, Philippines. Migrated to California in the 1990s. He's the president of the National Federation of Filipino American Association, Region 5, right? And Filipino American Community of Southern Colorado. His personal mission is to create positive social changes through selfless service and civic leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Alexander Africa. Doc, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. And it is my great pleasure to be part of this history and to be in front of everybody here today. My name is Dr. Alexander Africa, originally from Lipa City, Batangas. Dr. Tino, thank you for the beautiful introduction. A little bit about myself. I did migrate to California in the early 90s. Our family is from hailed legacy of naval service members. And with that, I also serve in the United States Air Force, which I also retired in 2017. That brought me here in Colorado. Our migration wasn't random. It was made possible by generation before us and who served in the United States Navy. Their services and sacrifice paved way for the opportunity for my family and I. It opened doors for us, also rewarded by hard work and proof sacrifice truly pays off. And that is the true American dream. Live in Oxnard, again, now a retired US Air Force who's traveled coast to coast and also served 2 terms in Iraq. Biggest obstacle was coming here. And I think majority of us started from nothing. And here we are today, celebrating the history and the proud history of our community. With that being said, I am here to talk about serving multiple organizations and how do we do that successfully. First, as you have mentioned, now as a VP of National, NaFFAA, National Federation of Filipino American Associations, serving with our president, Brian Namata, and chair, Mariela Fletcher. It is the biggest honor to serve our PhilAm. After serving the country, it is only the right thing to do is also give back to our communities. And how do we do that? We continuously find ways to serve not only in the small, but the biggest aspect of our community. How is that? So I serve here at a regional level, even from the Southern Colorado, all the way to the region and to the national, as CEOs, executive director in any ways that we can to fulfill and serve the needs. What are the needs? I heard earlier from today that it starts with respect and honoring those who have served before us. And those are our manong and manangs. If we don't pay that respect and that foundation, our communities, I believe, will not have a strong one. So we always need to incorporate our leadership that has built what we have today. And then building from what we have with the youth and the leaders, and then combining that together. What do we do at NaFFAA Regions 5? Am I able to share some screen here?
I believe so. I believe you do have screen sharing capabilities, sir.
You should be
And
able
I
to
just
share,
want to
yes.
make this quickly and show what our regions, 14 regions from NaFFAA, that have contributed to our national legacy.
Also, Doc, I just want to let you know you're at 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. And with this is just our most recent success, working with different organizations. And that's not just organization here in the US. We have worked with PDRF, and we are contributing via PhilAm alerts. With all the recent catastrophes and disasters in the Philippines, NaFFAA National have launched and partnered with local organizations such as PDRF so that we can reach and help those in need, and also properly alert all of our regions throughout the nation that the Filipinos and our PhilAm who have families back home are also in need of help. What this does is we alert each of the regions so that we can provide support and disaster relief for earthquakes that are now ravaging or damaging different parts of the Philippines. And this is one of our biggest mission here, collaboration in managing different parts of the aspects of our organization so that we can provide the assistance needed wherever it is Filipinos are around the world. Next thing, as you can see, as Region 5, or where I am from, we have the 5 vertex, and that is advancing Filipino cultures, citizen engagement, operation, disaster preparedness, and then developing our leaders on how we can properly react for things that are needed or the trends that are impacting our PhilAm. In a national level, again, we encourage those to be civically engaged, develop leaders, advancing our Filipino cultures, and again, national advocacy is our biggest mission. We are all over the 14 regions, as you can see here, from California all the way to the East Coast or southern part. We have representatives. And those are the biggest things that we have to do as Filipinos is be involved, be attached, and engage with what the needs are, and then meet the trends that are going to impact how we are representing the Filipino Americans. I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much, Doc. You know, you got me so inspired about the Philippines that I had to virtually go to the Philippines. So I just want to let you know that thank you so much. I think this is a great opportunity for our organizations to start conversations, because what you all are doing is historical. You know, being able to build that clean bridge from the American perspective, supporting our people in Philippines, but also here in America. So it's been a blessing to just listen to your story. I have a question, if it's okay with you. What was it like going through the cultural integration to America?
I think migrating here as a youth is the biggest opportunity because you have the most open mind. And as you surround yourself with positive and opportunities. Sorry, there was a music on the background.
Oh, go ahead. Please finish up, and then we'll transition. But please,
And to answer your question, thank you so much for the great question. And to shortly answer it, it provided many opportunities to where it inspired me that I can be where I am today. And that's one of the biggest accomplishments that I have. I have been given the opportunity to serve and retire in the United States Air Force. I am working on my second PhD so that where the publication is equity and how the PhilAm organizations and our leaders be equitable and how our worth is equitable to all, not just the PhilAm, but the entire America.
Thank you for that. Please let us know how we can support you, because, I think this is a great conversation to acknowledge that we are all one people. Why I put Boracay up, and to your point, sir, is when I, as a fourth generation American, lived in the Philippines, my eyes were open because I took all these classes to get informed that that is American. This is not Filipino. Because in the Philippines, you're either Ilocano, Sign, Tagalog. What are you? So thank you so much for the work that you do. Again, thank you to your organization. I know a couple more of your leaders are going to be having the conversation with us. But again, just appreciate the work that you're doing, and would love to collaborate with you and NaFFAA moving forward in the future. So folks, we have one more question for Dr. Africa. We have one in the chat that's informing that, do you partner with the International Red Cross and religious orgs? Question mark. That one is from Roland. And then it looks like Ryan answered it, but I wanted to acknowledge the question and ask you as well.
Yes, as NaFFAA, we do collaborate with all of the C3s and different types of organizations that advances Filipino American cultures.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So again, folks, that is Dr. Alex Africa. Can you please give him a virtual round of applause? We're going to be transitioning to a new segment, which is why, again, as you can see, my background is going to be changing throughout the piece. The next piece for us, as we're transitioning from changing communities, is going to be different workplaces. So I'm going to reach out to Christine. Is Christine in the room? All right. So awesome. So everyone, this is Christine, and she will be speaking about Alaska oil fields and the Kodiak Canneries. Thank you so much for being here. And with that, I'm going to kick it to you, Christine. The floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Well, greetings from Anchorage, Alaska. It's a brisk 40 degrees, which is actually unseasonably warm for this winter. And I'd just like to point out that October 18th, yes, is a special day, not only for Filipino American History Month, but it is also Alaska Day, because it is on this date in 1867 that the Russian Empire transitioned or transferred the what's now Alaska as a territory to the United States. So as a Filipino American and an Alaskan, I feel doubly blessed. I was asked to talk a little bit about, sort of places where Filipinos work. And of course, so much of the work that's been done on Filipino-Alaskan history, of course, was pioneered by the great Thelma Buckholt, who was our first elected Filipina woman to, first elected to any legislature right here in Alaska. She served from 1974 to 1982, and I know her daughter Titania is probably out here in the audience. She wrote a book called Filipinos in Alaska from 1788 to 1958, where she first talked about the first Filipinos that came to Alaska that were on whaling ships. Well, many people know that, there were a lot of Filipinos involved in the industry, in the canning industry here in Alaska. But what not a lot of people realize too is that there were other endeavors that Filipinos were involved in. One is mining. The opening of mines in the Southeast, had a number of Filipinos who were ore sorters, and also with engineering. Once we get into the era of where Alaska began developing the pipeline, we had a number of engineers here in Alaska. In fact, I think the first registered female engineer in Alaska is a Filipina by the name of Betsy Engel. So there's been a long history of Filipinos in Alaska. I'm sorry I'm not able to stay for the entire thing today because I too have to run to an event over at the Asian Alaska Cultural Center, which was of course founded by Titania's mother, Thelma. Ketchikan, Juneau, Anchorage, these places all had Filipino organizations prior to 1965. I mean, 1938, earlier even, and there's pictures and of some of these organizations, and maybe not all of them were registered and formal, but certainly post 1965 they were. And specifically, I'm thinking of Juneau in 1956, and of course Anchorage. While there were organizations as early as 1937, they became incorporated in 1968. As I said, when we're talking about post-1965 migration, pipelines, the engineers, all the civil service workers, the healthcare industry, and of course, the military. And throughout all of this time too, there were still cannery workers. So landmark case, Ward's Cove, which was an anti-discrimination lawsuit brought by Filipinos, Alaska Natives, and the Japanese workers at the time, went all the way to the Supreme Court in 1989 and unfortunately was denied. And now Ward's Cove is a site on a cruise ship line that stops there. Filipinos are pretty prevalent here up in Alaska. I know there'll be all these things that say that, oh, we're only like 1 or 2% of the population or whatnot, but keep in mind that while Alaska is vast, twice the size of Texas, more than twice the size of Texas, our population is small. It's less than a million people. And while, of course, English is the language of the state, it's English, Yupik, which is a traditional Alaska Native language, and then it's Tagalog. And Tagalog now seems to be vying with Korean and Spanish, but really, this Tagalog, in terms of the third most populous language that's spoken here in the state. Currently, it's interesting to note that while the state of Alaska has gained and lost population here and there, and while sort of migration numbers flux and flow, the migration of Filipinos to Alaska has remained fairly consistent. There's always people coming in. And interestingly enough, in the past, I would say 5-10 years, we've had a massive influx of teachers. And this is because places like the North Slope Borough and more far-flung places here in the state of Alaska have been bringing teachers from the Philippines to Alaska to teach in small villages. And many of you may have heard there was a huge disaster in Western Alaska where probably we've had to evacuate. It's probably the largest evacuation that they've had to do in our state. 1,200, 1,500 people from Alaska Native villages that have had to relocate here to the city center of Anchorage. I don't know if there's any teachers amongst them. I know that we've had teachers in places further than that. And I'll be interested to see as reports come in, sort of how are they faring and how are they getting access to aid and whatnot. And it's interesting to me because history repeats itself, right? I mean, I mentioned Ward's Cove earlier. Some of you are familiar with that case. And it's been interesting to me to see that we have teachers that have been contracted from the Philippines to work in Alaska. And I don't know that that's a fair shake. I know many of them are taking it for the opportunity. I spoke with one family that had been teaching the villages, got relocated to Kodiak, and they have said that they've been offered contracts that are, well, they saw it as an opportunity, but I see it as not quite as fair as some of the previous contracts that have been offered to other teachers that have been put in the same situation. So I think some of those things will unfold. And while history repeats itself in that sense, the wonderful thing is that we've had tons of activities with Filipino American History Month, which when I think about the state of things 10, 15 years ago, there weren't as many, and there's only a few of us that were trying to get events going. And now we have businesses that are participating and making Filipino American History Month part of their celebrations. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, let's continue to record and celebrate together.
Thank you so much, Christine. You know, as you were speaking, I found a document I'm going to share with everyone, because this particular document is acknowledging one of my granduncles who moved to Alaska in 1944, and they honored him on May 3rd, 1999, and his name is Julian Peralta. And I just wanted to share it to inform that, you know, we are in solidarity with our people in Alaska here in Seattle, acknowledging the route our people took from California all the way up to the Canneries and all the way back. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to hear your perspective from your folks up in Alaska. For my family, they were in Ketchikan, so that's where they were. And again, I just wanted to share that to promote solidarity in the space and say thank you for being here. So with that said, we are going to transition everyone. Again, can we give a round of applause for Christine from Alaska, folks? You know, they're doing big things up there, and it is a narrative to be talked about, to be shared, because again, they're doing big things in Alaska, representing, you know, their version of the Filipino multiverse, the Filipino AOX multiverse. With that said, we're going to transition. Again, I'm hanging out in Boracay, so if you want to grab a drink, please feel free to grab a drink, folks. Hopefully it's water. I'm just going to say it's water, H2O. That's the drink that we're talking about. Because I'm looking at the list of folks, and we have some fire presenters coming up. Because who's coming up next not only is doing great things in San Jose, California, also one of our awesome national trustees as well. Up next, folks, we are going to have a conversation with Miss Anne Regino, doctoral candidate at Seattle University. She's an educator, community organizer, and a Filipino cultural preserver with over 15 years of teaching experience, holds a BA in broadcasting and journalism and an MA in educational leadership from San Jose State University. Go Spartans, I was a Spartan as well. And a teacher now at Bessie Carmichael, specifically teaching Filipino-centered educational pedagogy with her students in the South of Market, and she also has her own school as well. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Miss future Dr. Anne Regino.
Hello, magandang hapon, everyone, or no, good evening, everyone that's in the East Coast. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Tino. I was asked by Auntie Dorothy to share my story as an immigrant child, and my family came later on in the 80s, the late 80s, I'd say. And we do have a different story as well. People think that I was born in America, of which I was not, but I am 1.5, 1.4, 1.3, you say. But I do have slides. I do want to show visuals and share a few of, my family's pictures and share my immigration story. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share. Everyone can hear me okay? All right.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm losing my voice. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. So, is this big enough? All right, so that's me right there. Funny picture, like my first trip to New York, because my grandmother lived in New York at that time. My mom's side of the family came in the 60s because my aunt was a nurse. So a lot of my family in the East Coast are actually a lot of professionals, medical professionals. The Dorotan family, if y'all familiar with Romy Dorotan, that is actually my uncle. That is owner of Purple Yam, and they already closed it. So, I always like to say that my family is part of, bringing the Filipino food movement to America, having him as my uncle. All right. So I was born in 1984, sorry, in Manila, Philippines. That is me as a baby on a horse. And that is my nanny, or what you call yaya. My mom told me that my sister and I had 2 nannies at one point because we were bad children or we were very mischievous. So that's me, baby Ann, in Baguio. I was in Baguio. And in 1989, we moved to America. I was only 5 years old. And we first moved to Los Angeles, California, because my mom had family there. And that's me with that boy haircut. It was very famous during that time. And I went to private school in the Philippines. I went to Marinol. And I don't know if it exists today, but it was pretty elite. And I'm going to talk a little bit more of how that, connects to my story, going to private school in the Philippines. So here's my dad, kind of like my twin. That's me. This is actually his going away despedida party in the Philippines right before he's about to immigrate to the US. And that's me when I was 2 years old. My dad's name is Rustico Rusty Lumidao Regino. He did not like the name Rustico, so he changed his name to Rusty when he moved to the US. He's born in November 15, 1947. Parañaque. He was a Manila boy. His father was a lawyer who fought for labor rights. Unfortunately, my grandfather died before I was born, but my dad was a great storyteller. I called my dad a hardcore Boy Scout because he earned his full ride scholarship at University of Santo Tomas, UST, where he graduated as an architect. And next would be my mother, the queen of the household. This is Adelpha Del Jesus Regino, born on September 8, 1951. She is from Irusin, Sorsogon, Bicol. Do we have Bicolanos in the house? She holds that really with high pride. So she moved to Manila with her 3 sisters, and they made it on their own. She graduated from the National University, accounting, finance. She worked in the Philippine Congress at the Department of Agriculture. So she would tell us that, I got it good before I had to move to America. She was the secretary for the Secretary of Agriculture in the Philippines. That's me again, baby Ann. And my parents got married on January 21, 1979. And they had my sister, Kathleen DeSuze Regino, on July 19, 1982 in Manila. I always call her my little big sister because they always think I'm the older one. She is now a project manager. And it's funny because my mom named us both Ann. I'm Ann Lorraine. She's Ann Kathleen. Okay. And so my dad, he was granted a work permit, which was a little different because my mom's family's side, they were petitioning their siblings to come to the US. My parents did it on their own. My mom said, you know what, they don't want to offer that to me, so I'm going to do that on my own. So they did. My dad got a work permit from his friend that was an architect in LA. And so we moved to America. My dad moved first just to settle in, and then he did seek political asylum post-Marcos regime. Having both of my parents working for the Philippine government at that time, it was easier for us to move to America. So in 1989, my mom, my sister, and my dad's younger sister followed him in America. And growing up as an immigrant child, as you can see my mom there, in the Philippines, you have your maids, you have your nannies. So in America, my mom was kind of struggling, like, how am I going to clean? I don't know how to cook, stuff like that. And this picture is epic because I'm looking at the way my sister and I are probably misbehaving. She's probably having a hard day, ready to bring us to school and everything. But it kind of just reflects on how that was kind of growing up and seeing as a child. And this was in Los Angeles. We lived in Griffith Park. Then we moved to San Jose in 1998. I remember my sister and I trying to fend for ourselves while my parents were working double jobs. You know, it was a lack of self-identity, kind of didn't know who I was. And I remember talking to Auntie Dorothy because I was like, Auntie Dorothy, when I went to America, you know, they put me in English language development classes, and they had no idea that I can read, speak, and write in English because of going to those private schools that I was going at in the Philippines. So that was a shift, and I was kind of embarrassed. I remember whenever, you know, I had to get pulled out of class because I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be different. And knowing my parents telling me, you know, you cannot speak Tagalog, you gotta, you know, immerse yourselves in America. They don't want us to be teased in school, which is an ongoing kind of like parallel stories, same stories to people in my generation that moved around that same time as well. And a lot of us that, you know, grew up as an immigrant child. And now I regret that because it's kind of hard to go back to learning how to speak Tagalog and my language.
And you have about 1 more minute, so please feel free
Okay,
to wrap
so
it
this
up. Wrap
is
it up.
now. And I'm just going to go straight to a clipping from my school. So all of my work eventually led to building this school called Bayani ng Kabataan, Filipino American Cultural Justice School. We were on TV and covered last week. And let me just go ahead and share that real quick. Can you hear the sound? Is right. Okay, cool.
Here in the heart of San Jose, there's a place where the next generation is connecting to their past. It's called Bayani ng Kabataan, or Young Heroes, and it's more than a school. It's a cultural home. Dr. Tony Santa Ana started BNK with one goal: make sure Filipino American kids don't grow up feeling disconnected from who they are.
I'm an educator. I've been educated for a long time, and one thing I realized was that there is no community school for our community, for our Filipino American community. There is a Vietnamese school, a Chinese school, a Japanese school. They have indigenous schools. They have Black Panther schools. So we want to do something for our community to educate them through their culture, their heritage, through the history.
Filipinos are the third largest Asian group in the U.S., with more than 4.6 million nationwide and 38% living in California. Yet only a handful of schools offer Tagalog or Filipino studies, and it's even more rare to find programs designed especially for young children.
It's beautiful teaching Filipino children because it is like raising our village. What I'm going to be most excited about is to see what this experience does to these babies later on in life, because I don't even think they realize what they're experiencing and how unique it is and how special it is. Just being loved on for 8 weeks straight in an all Filipino program is going to do a lot for their identity.
At BNK, lessons go beyond textbooks. Kids are learning folk dances, Tagalog songs, and practicing baybayin, the ancient Filipino script. Every activity is a window to the homeland.
We're teaching that our people, our ancestors were illiterate people. They had a way of communicating, a way of describing themselves before colonizers could describe them. Parents are coming back and telling us, wow, this is great that you're teaching these children, because I don't know myself how to teach my child.
Even food gets the spotlight, with Chef Charlene Caballa, the first Filipino to win Food Network's Chopped, teaching the history and flavor of pandesal and balaman.
I think when there's so many different messages that kind of question, who we are and whether we belong in America, honestly, I think there's a lot of that happening right now. There's lots of narratives. I think it's really important for our kids
and for second and third generation kids to understand where they come from, what makes us powerful and strong, and why they should be proud. And research backs it up. Studies show that children who engage in heritage, language, and culture programs often have higher self-esteem, stronger family bonds, and improved academic performance. I'm trying to be Filipino because our history of strength and community. Like we're always like
All right.
Ako si Emma. Emma means my name is Emma.
Oh,
And I think
how do you, all right. Sorry about that. And we're gonna have to transition out, but
Okay.
we
It's
definitely
still
wanted to
going.
have that. How do you
Okay,
stop the
here, sorry.
video? Sorry,
I'll
sorry,
take
sorry,
it.
sorry.
wave of Filipino Americans knows their roots and wears their culture.
There, it's done.
Okay.
And the ultimate
All right, cool. Stop. All right, thank you. Sorry about that, Anne. Stop it. We're gonna stop it here. So thank you, Anne, so much. Again, folks, we definitely wanted to at least have it run until the part where it was intentionally informing that this is intentional for the next generation. So I want to thank Anne for all the work she does. I know that there was a lot of content to take in, but the goal here was to at least see the great impacts from the Bay Area. That's San Jose, California, out there, doing great work. And she's also a doctoral candidate at Seattle University as well. So again, I just want to give kudos because Anne is doing great work and impacting the next generation of leaders.
My dream is
And
to open more cultural schools. Yeah. Sorry, Tino. Okay.
no, you're good.
Because
With that said,
it's crazy like how much we have so many Filipinos in America, but why aren't we looking at the young kids? So that's yeah. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone. Sorry, Tino.
all right. No worries. Everyone, that's Anne Regino. Can we give a virtual round of applause for Anne and all the
Nice
great work
seeing
she's
my
doing?
NaFFAA family and FANHS family here. Thank you.
You know, so with that said, I'm gonna flip it really quick because as you can tell, I'm back in the city of Seattle. Our next presenter, wow. I mean, if you only knew the awesome things that Bennyroyce was a part of. This individual I've been blessed to meet here in Seattle, a community leader, a community activist, someone that advocates for his community at Filipino community of Seattle, but not just that entity, but all Filipinos in our region. This awesome individual is also a recognized choreographer and dancer, specifically in New York. I mean, this man is a talented, awesome individual, and I'm so blessed to introduce him today. With further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Bennyroyce. Benny, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Tino. Mabuhay, and thank you for having me. Auntie Dorothy and FANHS, Dr. Tino Ubungen, thank you so much for moderating. It's an honor to be here amongst my fellow panelists and kababayans. My name is Bennyroyce Royon. My pronouns are he, they, or siya, and I currently live between Seattle and Anchorage. At the Christine, we're gonna need to link up and connect. I am a dance artist, community organizer, and cultural producer, and I'm currently the program director at the Filipino community of Seattle. So like most Filipinos in the US and throughout the diaspora, I am an immigrant with a complex story layered with unique lived experiences, full of challenges, of course, successes, and a Filipino-American history, or story, I should say, that is still unfolding. And 29 years and going at that. I was born in San Pedro, Laguna in the Philippines. I am the eldest of 4. My mom is from Dagupan, Pangasinan, and my biological father is from Davao. My mom raised me and my younger sister, sorry about that, younger sister, I don't have any kids at the moment, in the Philippines as a single mom with the help of her aunt, my great aunt, who was a teacher. And my mom actually was an OFW, working overseas Filipino worker working in Saudi Arabia at the Riyadh Armed Forces Hospital, along with her mom and sister. As you can imagine, that during that time in my childhood, growing up, there's sense of longing and wanting to be, close to your mom, who is so hardworking, and to this day, she inspires me daily. She's one of the hardest working people I know and the biggest heart out there. So our journey continued. Her journey continued. She moved to Hawaii, where she met my stepdad. And then, they had 2 other kids, and we moved to Auburn, Washington, where I grew up before I moved to New York City to study dance at the Juilliard School, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Dance. My first job actually was at the Metropolitan Opera Ballet, and I performed there for a season. One of the memorable moments I've had was being part of this opera, new opera called The First Emperor, and Placido Domingo was our lead. And it was just really an amazing thing to be living a life as a professional dancer in New York City during that time. I also moved to Montreal for a stint. I've traveled all over the US, Canada, and Europe as a professional dancer, dancing at some of the most wonderful and biggest stages out there. I've also worked as a professional choreographer, creating original works for Atlanta Ballet, Ballet Hispanico, and several colleges. Most of my work explore the ideas of identity, culture, and a sense of belonging. I think like, you know, many of us, once, you know, with that immigrant story, we really yearn for that connection back to the homeland and trying to navigate, you know, this experience where you're living between two worlds. And so I moved back to Seattle in late 2019, just a little bit before the pandemic, to be closer to family and nature. You know, I didn't realize until I was gone for a while, but Washington State is one of the most beautiful states, and Seattle is one of the most beautiful cities to live out there. So I came back really excited to be focusing on impact, community building, and also using my creativity in many different ways beyond the studio and the stage. And into the Filipino community, Seattle, Southeast Seattle, and also beyond. So right now I'm currently helping manage and grow our FCS Kalahi Cultural Dance Ensemble, our intergenerational Filipino folk dance troupe at the Filipino community of Seattle. As Dr. Tino said, you know, mentioned, I wear many hats at FCS, and I'm really grateful to be in community with our seniors, our community elders, manong manangs, our titas and titos, you know, the youth, the families, the small businesses we're working with, the creatives that I call to, you know, proud to call my colleagues and kapatids, the creatives and the cultural workers also that we engage in throughout our community building events all year round. You know, because it's such an important month for us, and it's, you know, we really, I'm inspired by all of us leaning into, you know, honoring the past, right? And enriching the moment so that we can envision together a brighter and more united future amongst Filipinos in different, you know, cities and states and communities. And with that, you know, I'm really so grateful and honored to be embraced by my Filipino American community in New York City, my dance community in general, my queer community, and now my Filipino American community in Seattle. So I do want to, you know, give a bit of time if there's anyone curious about my journey. I didn't realize how long, you know, I had for this, and really completely honored to be in the same virtual space as all of you. But I do want to thank you for your time and for listening to my story. Part of what I get inspired by is engaging in conversation. So I don't want to be talking, but if there's any specific curiosities or questions that you may have, I am here for it all. So I think I have about a minute for that to experience that with you. If you're curious about dance or community building or what else we're doing at the community center, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much, Benny. You know, I don't see a particular question in the chat. Is there any questions for Benny? Auntie Edwina, I see your hand going up.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know where the chat thing is at.
No, it's okay. It's okay. What is your question?
I really love your I like your story, and you know, we're communities from all over the country, and we may need somebody with your skills here at our center to boost our Filipino American programs, because I'm finding that the younger people today, they're not into folk dancing.
Yeah.
Right. So we
Yeah.
have to find a way, we have to reach to them, but maybe we can do a little bit of folk dancing, maybe hip hop, tinikling, but I hope that you're open to working with communities across the country if we don't have someone like you in our community.
Thank you. You know, Tita Edwina, I yes, most definitely. And before my time goes out, yes, I'm totally interested, and I think it's an exciting challenge for me to really reach into, you know, the younger generations. There's certainly a way to meet them where they're at and bring them to really be curious about our traditions and heritage. You know, just a little quick story, you know, during the pandemic and I started volunteering at the Filipino community of Seattle, you know, Kalahi, you know, became really small because it was a tough time, right? And so the challenge was, you know, how to grow that, you know. And now we are 58 plus members strong, and you know, really now honing on to the educating them and shaping this holistic pedagogical approach with our teacher and choreographer who's Kalinga born, Tita Juliet Cheadle. I think most of maybe some people on this call know her, but yeah, I think it's just being really cultivating this cultural pride and a sense of joy and creativity, and then sharing that amongst our, you know, fellow Filipinos and non-Filipinos as well. So I thank you for that offering. I will stay connected with you, Tita.
And I wish you would do a presentation at the FANHS conference about the creative arts part. You know, because
Yes.
I don't think anybody's done a presentation about that history-wise, you know, because we need
Yes.
you all, we need those skill sets in our community so they can create and continue the folk dance in a different way. So thank you.
I agree. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
All right. You know, if Benny becomes part of the Greater Seattle chapter, I mean, we can help fund that. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
besides the point.
reach out to me.
But thank you so much, Benny. Again, folks,
Thank
I
you,
truly
Dr.
feel
Tino.
like we really appreciate you, and you know, appreciate all the great work that you do. And you know, I'm informing the community now, and this is going on the recording. When Benny starts doing awesome things, the first interview is going to be the Greater Seattle chapter that's going to interview this awesome Filipino American doing beautiful work. So with that said, thank you so much. This is really, I really feel like we're in the Filipino American AOX multiverse right now. All the great work we're doing through time and space, right? Look at the different time and space based on where we entered into this interesting conversation. But with that said, is Rosita Lee here? So if so, I'm just going to shout out Rosita. That is our next speaker on the schedule from Las Vegas Casinos, the former NaFFAA National Vice President and founder of Filipino Town Initiatives in Las Vegas. Are you in the room? Okay. So with that said, as you know, we're going to transition to the growing number of elected officials. Mayor Falconi, are you ready to go before I give your introduction?
I'm
Yes,
here, yes. You guys hear me?
All right. So let's give Mr. Mayor his introduction, you know, and thank you so much for blessing us all the way from Ohio. So folks, up next, we're going to transition into our next segment of our discussion today, specifically around our growing number of elected officials. You know, the thing about it, and my hope for this particular piece of the conversation is that we are going to take it with an open mind and learn about our different Filipino Americans and what they're doing, no matter where they are in the multiverse. So with that said, folks, I'm introducing Mr. Ron Falconi, who began his term as mayor of Brunswick in 2014. Originally, he was appointed to the council at large since 2008 among a group of 14 applicants. He successfully defended the seat and won in 2009 and ran for mayor in 2013. He is on to his fourth term of mayor of Brunswick as of November 2025, born and raised in Northeastern Ohio. Without further ado, folks, this is Mr. Mayor Ron Falconi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I want to thank FANHS for helping, for allowing me to speak here this afternoon. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. You know, I was born and raised right here in Northeastern Ohio. My parents, of course, were originally from the Philippines. And then interesting note is they actually met at the U.S. Embassy applying for visas to come here to America back in the mid to late 60s. My last, you know, the number one question people ask me is not so much what my position is on taxes or abortion or anything like that. The number one question people ask me is, your last name is Falconi. What are you? Where are you from? You know, and you know, the answer to that is we really don't know. My father is a pure Filipino, and his father and grandfather were pure Filipinos. So to answer the question, we're not really not sure. We're not sure how we got the last name Falconi because it does sound Italian. I grew up in Seven Hills, Ohio, which is a suburb here of Cleveland. I am married. I have we have two adult children. My wife is originally from the Philippines, born and raised in Muntinlupa. My educational background went to the John Carroll University, where I majored in political science and concentration in international studies. And then I went to the University of Akron for law school. You know, I've always been involved in politics for most of my adult life. I've just been always interested in it. One time I called up, Cuyahoga County, and I know I'm going to betray my age here. I wanted to volunteer for George Bush's reelection campaign in 1992. He was coming to visit suburban Cleveland and wanted to get involved with that. Volunteered for the local governor here in Ohio at the time, and then a few months after that, there was kind of like an announcement that someone was running for Congress here. I got involved in the local congressional campaign, and it was just so much fun. It was people working for a common cause. There were many good people that I got to know, many different kinds of people. I got exposed to, a door-to-door campaign, basically how to campaign, how to get involved in politics, and I became the local coordinator for my hometown. And by then, we beat an 8-term incumbent congresswoman. The whole experience, I felt, was great, grand, and glorious. And ever since that time back in '92, I've just been hooked. And we get to meet people. And if you get involved in politics, a lot of times you meet the same people over and over again. So you develop relationships, you develop a kind of closeness to the people, you develop a trust, because a lot of times it feels like you're going into battle. You're side by side with the same people on your team, and it got very emotional. And of course, it got very, very emotional for me. And then ever since that time, I wanted to get involved in politics as much as I could, and tried to get involved with everything I could. I was fortunate enough to work on Capitol Hill, and then after that worked for various political organizations in the Cleveland area. Cleveland is in Cuyahoga County. Got involved in numerous campaigns, whether it's from the President of the United States to down to state legislative races, mayoral races, and the city council races. And then I got involved, and then I also that was when I was living in Northeastern Ohio, when I was dating my girlfriend, now my wife, a Filipino wife. We moved to rural Pennsylvania, got involved in rural Pennsylvania out there as well. And then we came back here locally to Northeastern Ohio. I lived here in Brunswick. Once again, got involved with various candidates here too. Became officer of of the local clubs here, and I really wanted to make my community a better place to live, and I wanted to give my 2 cents when I was, gosh, it was almost like 20 years ago now. I believed in the principles and believed in our party. But what really is important here is if you want to separate the boys from the men in politics, boys want to be somebody, but men want to do something. And when I first got involved in a race, I did face opposition, and I had to convince my family. They weren't enthusiastic about it at first, because it involves there's a huge time commitment, and then of course, there's the racial question, because we live in an area which is, I would say at least 98 to 99% white. Are they going to elect a city councilman who's not white, a city councilman who's Filipino? And we didn't know the answer to that. But you know what? We were going to find out. So when I ran my first race in 2007, I knocked on doors. I talked to people. We did our campaign literature, mailed that out. Back then, it was still an emerging new battleground for a new battleground campaign in how do you reach people? And one of the things that was just emerging at that time was email. So I was sending out emails, which I've never done before at that time, and trying to reach out to different people. I spent around $20,000, right? I should say I stopped counting. I spent around $20,000 for that race. Targeted all the voters, Republican, Democrat, whatever. And then, you know what? I lost. I lost by about 143 votes cast. But there was later an opening on city council, and one of the council people had to resign and join the administration. So I applied for an appointment of that seat, and of course everything is like a soap opera in politics. But I did get the appointment for the seat by one vote, and basically since then I've been I became a councilman in 2008. I stuck firm to my beliefs, so a couple times, there's 7 people on council. Sometimes I join the majority, and then sometimes, I was a lone ranger on a lot of those votes, whether, 7-0, or sometimes I was the 6-1 on a lot of those votes. But I answered every email, returned every phone call, talked with the constituents. I see my time is
All right.
here.
So Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Council member, we are at time. We do have a couple questions though, if that's okay for everyone, that can we try to get to? I know there's one in the chat, and I know we see a hand up as well with Christine. I'm going to start with the question in the chat. The question in the chat from Auntie Edwina Bergano: is there a large Filipino American community in your area?
The answer to that, no. I mean, there's myself, my wife, my 2 kids, my uncle. Like I said, the Filipino community here is probably, I would say, certainly less than 0.5% here in Brunswick. But yeah,
thank you so much.
But still, I mean, I've never hidden the fact that I'm a Filipino. You can tell my face. I'm in the I'm probably in the paper as often as I can, and I am proud of my Filipino heritage. And everyone knows.
Thank you so much. And Christine, I see that Auntie Christine has a hand up. I think you're muted, maybe? Christine, we can't hear your audio. Just want to let you know something. If you'd like, you could put it into the chat. I'm more than happy to read it. So while we have a pause in the action, folks, I just want to give a shout out to Gabriel Kramer, the president of the Ohio FANHS chapter. So shout out to the FANHS Ohio chapter. I just want to shout out our folks out there. And again, very blessed to have Mayor Falconi here hanging out with us today. The question, it looks like, okay, the question is, what are you doing to mentor other candidates or future candidates?
Oh, I've always asked people, the important thing really is you want to lay down the foundation for the next generation. So I've always reached out to people wanting to know if they wanted to run for office. I've met with them privately, met with them, either taking them out to breakfast or whatever. And it does take unfortunately it's not for everybody, And so I try to tell everybody it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had in my life is serving in public office. But it does, it does require a lot of time. Unfortunately, it does require cash or the ability to raise cash. And of course, let's be honest here, it also takes a thick skin, because you're going to be asked questions which sometimes you don't want to answer, and sometimes you'll be getting you'll be getting insults and let's say unique letters in the mail, which I still get from time to time. So I try to tell everybody, people who want to run for office, I let them know of course the negative things, but of course also of the great things that happen when running for office as well. Not only for people here, and then over the years, ever since I've been involved with NaFFAA, and hopefully in the future here with FANHS, to reach out to people of Filipino descent who also want to run for office. And I've given talks at various NaFFAA events across the country, especially also during the past 10, 12 years now that I've been mayor. It's always out there. And if anyone here in FANHS or NaFFAA or wherever you're interested in running for office, I'm always happy, ready, willing, and able to talk to anyone, anytime. And it's really, you can just like Google me, you can find my contact information.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate you and thank you for your time today. With that, folks, we'll give a virtual round of applause for Mayor Falconi, and we're going to transition into our next speaker, who is Mr. Ryan Namata, who is a senior human resource executive with over 20 years of experience based in Washington, D.C., and the chief human resource officer for 3 organizations. I'm going to let him jump into his particular piece. So Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tino. And thank you to the Sublime FANHS team here for the opportunity to collaborate. I'm really humbled to follow giants like Mayor Falconi in our community. It's really it's too bad that we did not get Tita Rosita Lee, who from Las Vegas, who's a firecracker. She would have been a lot more entertaining than me here in a second here. Just a quick introduction.
Ryan, this is Mano Ben. Tita Mana Rosita just been trying to get on, so she might get on soon.
There we go. So we still can do it probably.
She's handicapped with technology, so
that's right.
Yeah, go ahead,
Well,
Ryan. Sorry about that.
No worries. I hope we get her on. I know I'm supposed to be talking about the evolving politics of the Filipino American community, and I do have slides for that, but I'll do a quick introduction to myself here. I was born in Cebu City, and I lived there for the first 9 years of my life. My mom is from Bohol. My father is from Mindanao. If you guys know of any Cebuanos and met them, you know how obnoxiously proud we are. I remember growing up in the Philippines, what martial law looked like. I saw about minimum two violent incidents. A shooting when we were crossing the street, and then a shooting in my neighborhood. So I'm very familiar with what can go wrong when politics get beyond ugly. I remember at that time, if you wore the wrong color, it could cost you your life, meaning if you wore yellow in the middle of the street and someone didn't necessarily agree with your political leanings, and it could potentially be violent. Before we left Naia Airport, I actually got to visit Malacanang Palace, fresh from the EDSA Revolution. So I actually touched Imelda Marcos's shoes, one of, I think, 3,000. So that's my claim to fame. That's probably the highlight of my Filipino-ness at that time. The first of our family arrived in America, to arrive in America was my lolo, who fought in World War II. And because of that, we were able to actually get citizenship a little bit faster than the average, I'm told. He arrived in the U.S. in the 50s. He did posthumously receive a Medal of Honor via PhilVet Rep's Herculean efforts, so shout out to them. My lolo on the other side, by the way, also fought against the Japanese, but as a civilian in a small village in Bohol, and that essentially traumatized him pretty significantly. We settled in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and the Virginia area. We have about 75 family members in this area. Hard to believe for some people, but I promise you that I have a birthday to go to every weekend, because there's only 52 weeks in the year, and there's 75 of us around here. One of the things that I remember when I first came to the U.S. was I did not know I grew up poor until I got here. It was a shock. The kind of toys the kids here had, the kind of food they were eating, so on and so on. But when you don't know you're poor, you're happy. And I had a very happy childhood, so I had nothing to complain about there. So it's been a culture shock after culture shock for me. I think when I first arrived here, it's become obviously less and less as the decades have gone by, but they still happen. And that's part of what drives me, to be part of the Filipino American community. I've worked in HR now for over 25 years, and that's given me a really unique insight into America, the American workplace, and the typical American. And that kind of experience actually compels me to find Filipino-ness wherever I can, whenever I can. So like many of you, I'm not just part of one organization, I'm part of several. I just happen to be the national president of NaFFAA these days, but I am in a lot of organizations that you are in. So I am one of those folks. I am motivated to advocate for the community. I know I'm about to talk about politics. I do want to let you know I'm, growing up in the DC area, I'm pretty desensitized to politics. So I don't mind sharing with you, a little bit of my journey in that regard. So
3 minutes, Ryan. 3 minutes.
Yep, I'll try
I
to
just want to let
inject
you know
my
3 minutes. Just want to let you know 3 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm gonna show you some slides, but before I do, again, I'm very grateful for this opportunity from FANHS to be able to share this information. Stand by. Okay, so you should see my slides here, really quick slides. Hopefully,
This is good. Yeah, but it's not too thick.
But if you're hungry, the food's done.
is it dark, you said? Oh, I'm sorry. So if you guys see that, I'll move on. So the quick story, and by the way, a lot of this data, a lot of the information you'll see here is from various sources, but mainly from one of our partners here in DC, APIA Vote. We are actually co-officed with them here in DC, so we're very familiar with a lot of their work. So essentially, the Filipino community was a traditionally democratic bloc. A lot of the reasons why are the socioeconomic profiles of Filipinos. Many early immigrants were professionals like nurses, doctors, and they just happened to align with, party support for civil rights, union membership, and then identity as an immigrant minority. But what we're seeing, though, is this shift. And so there is now more political diversity in the Filipino American community. So we see, for instance, the Trump era surprise in the 2020 election, we saw a huge jump for Filipinos in registered to vote, to jump over to vote into a Republican candidate. We also have now a lot more regional variations. So for many of you who are from these communities, you've seen this as well. Any place that has a large Filipino community, so for instance, Nevada and Virginia, specifically Virginia Beach and the southern part of Virginia, you'll see a lot more support for Republican candidates. And so this is sort of the major shift. I'm really oversimplifying here, so I don't know how much room we have for nuance, but here are the actual numbers, and these are static, meaning that we do see upward trends for the Republican side, but currently about 65% of the Filipino community does identify as Democratic, and then about 25% identify as Republican. So again, an oversimplification, but essentially there is a potential shift here, from sort of the beginning being a traditionally Democratic bloc, over to a much more variable type of community, and a significant part of it would be
All right.
Republican side. Yep.
So
And that's
thank
it.
you so much. Thank you so much, Ryan. Can we give a round of applause for Ryan? Thank you so much for that presentation. Again, looking forward to collaborating in the future. I'm very blessed and fortunate to have this opportunity to collaborate this weekend with your organization.
Thank you.
And folks, I'm just informing we're like Filipinos, we're running out of time. So we're going to just keep transitioning forward. So next up, we are going to transition to our next speaker. Our next speaker is the NaFFAA National Secretary, Miss Giselle Rushford. Giselle, are you here?
I am here.
All right. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
Okay. Arnell, do you have my slide? Thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you to Dr. Cordova for making sure this happens. And of course, kudos to everybody. Again, my name is Giselle Rushford, and this is my story. And do you have my slide, Arnell?
I do. You want me to share it now?
Yes, please.
Give me a second here. There you go.
Okay, next slide. This picture was taken in 1956. And pictured here is my father, who is Godofredo Saniel Gomez. He was a World War II veteran, retired as a Deputy Minister of Tourism in the Philippines. Lino de Los Santos Morales, my mother, was a grandniece of Father Burgos, our claim to fame. If you remember your history, he was one of the martyrs of Gomborza, which initiated the revolution in the Philippines. And she retired from AT&T. Next slide, please. Now, my parents enrolled me at the UP Diliman High School, thinking that I would be getting the best education the country can offer. To their chagrin, it trained me to question authority and norms. I sat in teach-ins during Marcos' second term, and when I immigrated to the US in 1970, I joined rallies against Marcos' martial law and other injustices here in the US. My corporate career that spanned 30 years includes years of advocacy on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the picture here is I was third year in high school. We all had bangs. That was because of the Beatles. Next slide, please. This is our home in 1980. We grew from 4 to now 8, including my daughter Jennifer from my first marriage. Next slide, please. So life. That's too fast. Can you go back? Well, life took a turn and I met John Rushford and in 1988, and we, because of work move, we to Colorado in 1989, and we ended up with 5 in beginning at 3. Next slide, please. So we were involved in community service. I, with the Filipino American community of Colorado, became the 2-term president, and the kids were involved in community practice. And there's my first child as a sultana, and she was dancing since she was 3. And my 2 kids, we started dancing at 4. Next slide, please. My firstborn, Jennifer, became the first Filipino-American Broncos cheerleader in 2000. And with that, world opened to new opportunities for her and network. She is now a wife, mother of 3, a professor at marketing at the University of Colorado. She is an entrepreneur. She co-owns Perseverance, a fitness training company with 2 locations in Denver. And she is the newly elected NaFFAA Mountain States Region 5. Next slide, please. Jack Rushwood, my only and favorite son. I get a chuckle from him when I say that. Born in 1990. He is an English and online teacher. He's a choreographer, a dancer, and an activist in California. And Elisa Rushford, well, Merle now, born in 1989, is a wife, mother of 3, a real estate broker, community leader in Hawaii, and shown here with her oldest. So next slide is, this is my father, Godofredo Gomez, with his co-activists in fighting for Filipino World War II veterans equity bill and recognition since 1980. This photo was taken in 2001. Next slide. Unfortunately, in 2006, Jeff Godofredo passed, leaving behind unfinished work. However, in 2009, World War II Filipino Veterans Equity Act was signed by President Barack Obama. And 2016, the Congressional Gold Medal was awarded to Filipino veterans, signed again by Barack Obama. Next slide. Some of my community involvement, and mainly, is becoming founding member of NaFFAA. And the community work that I'm very proud of is having to register new citizens during a swearing-in ceremony, and that's the photo to your left. Next slide, please. So, to go back to NaFFAA, since its inception, it envisions Filipino-American communities that are culturally and economically and politically empowered and engaged. And you know the numbers? And in 2020 election, we only had 44 Filipino-Americans elected officials. And to the left is Juanito Amor. And I can't talk about run for office program without talking about Philam boat, and this is the beginning of the Philam boat. Next slide, please.
You have 1 more minute, 1 more minute.
Okay, the creation of the Run for Office program in 2021, it was through the efforts of various supporters, and Mayor Falconi was one of our supporters who was one of the guest speakers during this program. And to the left is the two-day workshop for the Philam vote. Next slide. So in 2016, we have over 100 NaFFAA leaders who joined in to make sure that we launch Philam vote and hence Run for Office. And let me just end this by sharing with you that we started in my family with 4, and now it's sprouted to 35 living people.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for all of the work, the knowledge, and the commitment to the Filipino American community. Can we give a round of applause for Giselle and all the work that she has done with the NaFFAA entity here in the United States? Thank you so much. Again, we look forward to collaborating in the future. And again, thank you so much for being a pillar with your organization. With that said, everyone, we're going to transition to retention of Filipino culture. Up next, we have dance musicians. It's awesome because if you take a look at this picture, I see one of my cousins, Caroline Caboting, in that photo. But with that said, and without further ado, we have Mr. Joel Jacinto to the mic. Joel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Tino and Go City. I'm from San Francisco. My name is Joel Jacinto. The first thing I want to do is props to thank Auntie Dorothy for this wonderful. So I'd love us all to kind of just join in some snaps and claps to Auntie Dorothy and the angel we know as Uncle Fred. 1995, 30 years ago, I remember being in Seattle for the Northwest Folklife Festival with the group that I'm a part of, Kayamanan ng Lahi. And so I'm a co-founder of this organization. And when we say dance and music, we're talking about culture, but we're really talking about community, right? And so happy to say that after 35 years that our group Kayamanan ng Lahi is still in existence, going strong, over 1,000 performances and hundreds of people, young people that we've served, including this one, Christine Cadiz, who came to us as a child and now is an adult performer, over 25 years in her life. So happy to be in this space. The idea of any organization, especially Kayamanan ng Lahi, is to understand our why we exist. Let me share with you our why is to inspire transformation through cultural understanding and artistic expression so that we empower ourselves, our families and communities, and enrich society. That's our fuel. That's our motivation. That's kept us going for 35 years with the core values that help us make decisions every day in every way. The idea of kapwa, shared identity, the idea of kalinangan, the culture that comes from the Philippines, and the culture that we build here in America. The idea of galang or respect, respecting diversity, respecting all cultures of the Philippines. And the most important one a lot of times is katiwala, the stewardship that we have in continuing and serving our community. This is our why and our core values. So thank you guys so much for allowing me. We are Filipino American history. Up to upper right is the 4 individuals that started Kayamanan ng Lahi. Leonilo Boy Angos, who is now our ancestor angel. Barbara Ellie on the right came from the Bayanihan. And they came from the Philippines, world-class artists. On the left, you have myself and Ave Jacinto, who we met at 18 years old at UCLA. Go Bruins. And we have been together for 44 years. This idea of we are American, Filipino American history. This is not just culture of the Philippines. This is culture that we're making. So thank you so much for allowing me to tell you our story. And really, you could look at our story as a idea of culture and historical context. We come from different places. We are diverse. There are 3 major, I should say, threads or kind of strands that make Kayamanan ng Lahi. The first one is from the Philippines, from wonderful artists and wonderful culture in Bayanihan and the Ramon Busong folklore group. That's what Boy and Barbara came. On the Philam side, Philippine American history side, Abe and I came from that background, even though Abe was born in Mexico, Pampanga. We met at UCLA. We're very much shaped by Hawaiian hula. It really helped us to understand who we were as Filipinos. And one of the highlights, punctuations of those 1,000 performances was to be able to perform at Merry Monarch for the Ho'ike 10 years ago in 2015. So that Hawaiian hula side helped to shape our unique approach. And then this idea of culture bearers, the constant renewal and going to the Philippines and learning from first voice performers to do field research and immerse is so, so important. So what about it? What about culture? Why is it so significant in Kalinangan, which is, we know, is the Filipino word, the root word is linang, or the field, because that's where we grow culture. Why is it significant? Because we believe that culture is our bukal. It is a wellspring of goodness and well-being throughout, not just in the Philippines, but throughout the world, in here in America with FANHS. And so that's why we promote culture, because it is the essence of who we are, all the things that we do, what we think, what we do, and what we have, and being able to pass it on, and to create a Filipino-American culture, not just a Philippine culture, but to create a Filipino-American aesthetic. That's important. In the end, it's about community, y'all. It is about our tribe. It is about gathering with our intergenerationals and helping young people to be them best selves, and allowing our generations, and I'm another generation now. I started in my early 20s, and now this is 35 years later. It's a great responsibility. What Hawaiians would call kuleana. We live it every day in every way. So let me just stop there really quick, and I want to ask all of you to join me. This is a dance because it's Philippine American History Month, and we love this dance called Gawai Gawai. I'm going to share with you because I got a minute, and I'm going to end at 6 minutes. So Dr. Tino, I'm going to ask everybody to follow me in this dance, Gawai Gawai, which talks about how you pick the ube. We're going to roll our sleeve up here. We're going to roll our sleeve up here. Come and join me. I see, I can't see you, but I hope you're doing it. We're going to pull back. 6. Thank you. 7. I see someone getting up. Other side, we're going to roll our sleeve. Clear. Grab. We're going to pull 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull 5, 6, 7, 8. Other side. 1, 2, 3. This is for you, Auntie Dorothy. 6, 7, 8. That pulling of sustenance of the purple root is an analogy to what Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred and all of FANHS have done for the years, and putting us on the map and allowing us to live our best selves through our history and our culture. Back to you, Dr. Tino.
Folks, let me give a round of sound for Joel Jacinto from the Bay Area and from Southern California, representing for the cultural dance, the cultural history, and making sure that we maintain our generational practices. So thank you so much, Joel. We appreciate you. And
I just want to say one comment, Tino. Thank you, Joel. It's been 30 years since I've seen this young man. You have not, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You look better today than back in the day.
Compliment. So thank you so much, Joel. We appreciate you. Sending nothing but love to the Bay Area. As you can see, I have the background as well to represent and show love. So shout out to San Francisco, shout out to the Bay Area from Seattle. And again, thank you so much for getting us up out of our seats today. With that said, folks, we're transitioning to our next speaker. Next up to the microphone, we have an interview with Greg Rosas, the owner of Ludi's Restaurant, provided by one of our previous presidents, Auntie Cynthia. Auntie Cynthia,
hello,
the floor is yours.
Happy Filipino American History Month. I'm Cynthia Mejia.
This is a free website.
I'm part of the FANHS family since its inception, but the focus is not on me, although my bio is in the program. The focus today is on Gregorio Rosas, who is a very popular entrepreneur here in Seattle. He has a unique story in which he will share coming to the States in 1978, and he has been surrounded by guardian angels, and he's very grateful for that, and he pays things forward. So without further ado, I will say that this was a phone interview done yesterday, and in the middle of our interview, the phone rang. So there's going to be a little blip, and I'm tech impaired, and Romeo's here helping me. So please be patient, okay?
You ready to share?
Oh. Let's see. Yeah.
Go to share screen. So cancel. And then go to share.
I did.
And share screen. Share.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then video.
Favorites.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Oh my goodness. Hey, it's right here. Where are they? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Share.
Mm-hmm. Watching Solomon.
You had it earlier, right, Romeo?
Yeah, one moment. Should be able to have it up. It's not showing your videos.
You know, folks, while
Yes.
this is getting queued up, I just want to shout out Romeo for, again, stepping up as our new national director, someone who's going to help support our initiative in collaboration with Auntie Dorothy moving forward in the future. I just want to let everyone know, while they're queuing up the video, if you have time to check out Ludi's downtown, the ube pancakes are off the hook. So this is going to be, again, a place and space to check out while they're queuing up this particular piece. And my acknowledgement to this is similar to conversations that we've had in other panels, is what really put me on my journey is acknowledging that all the adobo tastes different depending on where you are in the Philippines. So I think with that acknowledgement, it also acknowledges that here in America, we also have our different businesses and all the different tastes are different. You know, someone I saw earlier was Uncle Ruben from Chicago in the house. I know that, you know, Chicago, the last time apparently this organization had a Filipino adobo contest, apparently Chicago won, right on Auntie Ginger and Chicago putting that adobo contest together. But with that said, Romeo, Cynthia, can we kick it back to you?
You're muted, buddy.
Let me get the video going for you all. We might have to MacGyver this really quick. So,
for all those who don't know who MacGyver is, MacGyver was a show in the 90s. It was about a Caucasian gentleman that would take a paperclip, a pan, and a rubber band and blow up a building. How this was possible, I have no idea, but I'm sure it influenced a Filipino somewhere on trying to MacGyver something. So I just want to put that into cultural context because I have to acknowledge that the new generation, they know so much on the internet, and just wanted to acknowledge that reference. I knew I was old when I did this to my niece, and she said, "No, Uncle Tino, it's like this." So, something to think of, just something to think of, folks. But anyway, Romeo, I'll kick it back to you.
Dr. Tino, if Romeo can't do it, maybe we have to move on to our next
go ahead and
member,
move on.
and then bring him back when they're ready.
All right, sounds good, folks. So we're gonna move forward. Thank you so much, Cynthia. We're gonna get to that. Up next, folks, we have Tatiana Buckholz. Did I say that correct? Tatiana. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna transition that way. The floor is yours. I apologize if I mispronounce your name.
We'll get it up there.
Titania.
Titania, thank you so much,
You
Titania.
gotta
We
put the vowels
appreciate
in the
you.
right place. I know.
So the floor is yours, The
Is it
10.
mine? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I had given up, so I went ahead and put in the chat a little bit about Danny Kalanduyan. So I knew that we were getting close to our
Awesome.
cutoff time.
Ah.
So Auntie Dorothy asked me to talk a little bit about Danny Kalanduyan because everyone in my family came a long time ago, long before 1965. So Danny Kalanduyan did come after 1965, and what Auntie Dorothy said was since I had traveled with Danny quite a lot, that I would be a good person to talk about Danny. Earlier, I jumped the gun and I did not realize that sharing the screen meant that I was going to be cutting into Joel Jacinto's. I did not realize that, but I'm going to go ahead and share a screen if I can. I have here a website. If you want to find out some more about Danny Kalanduyan, you can go to California Revealed, and you can just do a search for Kalanduyan. Look at that, 1,500 items came up. And the reason for that is when Danny Kalanduyan passed away in 2016, he left a lot of items. He left a lot of videos, audios, and a lot of documents. So for those of you who don't know about Danny Kalanduyan, he was the very, very first Filipino American ever to be acknowledged by the federal government in the United States as a national treasure, a national heritage treasure. In 1995, Danongan Danny Kalanduyan was nominated and received a National Endowment for the Arts National Heritage Award for traditional arts. And Danny Kalanduyan, who lived in the United States between 1976 until he passed away in 2016, was a Kulintang master. It was something that was basically his family tradition. His uncle, Amal Lemontod, was the first Filipino Kulintang player who had been studied by the very first Filipino ethnomusicologist back in the 1950s. That was Jose Maceda, who received his PhD at UCLA. Go Bruins! I somehow got muted.
Please continue. Please continue.
She's on mute. Tatiana, you're on mute.
Yeah, we didn't mute you.
I'm not.
She's still muted.
Am I muted still?
No,
no,
you're not.
Perfect.
No,
Okay,
you're not.
thank you. Thank you for unmuting me. Yeah, it's I got a notice that you muted me. And so I was like, what happened? Okay, so Danny Kalanduyan always grew up knowing that his uncle Amal had become famous worldwide and had been able to travel to Europe and had been able to travel to the Middle East because of Kulintang music. So Danny grew up always dreaming that someday he would also be able to travel the world playing Kulintang music. So he was able to come to the University of Washington in Seattle in 1976 as an artist, a master artist, where he taught Kulintang music and also was able to receive his master's degree in ethnomusicology before he moved to the Bay Area in the 1980s. And Danny was really a farm boy who really knew Kulintang music very well. One of the things that was really amazing about Danny was that he didn't really think that his music was something special when he was a child. And it wasn't until he went to school at Mindanao State University in Marawi City that he discovered that he knew something extra special. And he learned stagecraft when he was a student at Mindanao State University. And so when he landed in the United States, he knew stagecraft, he knew Maguindanao and Kulintang music, and he knew Maranao Kulintang music. He was quickly discovered by ethnomusicologists as being really an amazing musician and came to the attention of the National Endowment for the Arts. Danny taught Kulintang music, Kulintang ensemble music in the United States for 30 years. He taught at San Francisco State University. and he taught at Skyline College. He taught at many different places throughout California. He was able to get a lot of funding from lots of different places. And I feel like his students still continue to teach Kulintang music and spread through tradition of pre-colonial, pre-Islamic, pre-Hispanic music throughout North America. I'm going to stop now because I think Cynthia might be able to show her video now. Is that true?
Looks like yes, it is. But I just want to thank you so much for your presentation today. The reason why I want to shout out is, you know, my cousin Caroline Kabading worked with Master Kalanduyang and also my colleague Dr. Bernard Ellerin. So I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you. And again, more stories like this need to be recorded and shared. But with that said, we have Cynthia. Cynthia, are we ready to go? All right. Without further ado,
Yes,
we give a round of
I
applause
am.
for our last presenter. And Cynthia, you are ready to go.
Yeah, Romeo, let's go for it. Okay.
And Cynthia, are you still there?
Can you hear Dr. Tino?
The sound is not running. I just want to let you know that.
I think Tita Cynthia left the call accidentally.
So just move on for now there, Tino, if you get a chance.
Let's just move on.
All right. So with that said, folks, we're going to move on to political and religious changes in the U.S. We have Ellen up. Ellen, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you to FANHS and Manang Dorothy for this opportunity to speak and to share our experiences. So I really wanted to just begin with the political changes and go to the religious feast later on, but I would like to share this personal story because in 2003, I have just been appointed as the executive director for the Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs by Governor Gary Locke. My first week on the job, I got a phone call from Seattle, Washington, in Eastern Washington. A family needed help. They received a letter of deportation to be done in 3 months' time, with the date and the time and the day, of course. And so I said, I think that I might have to go up to Eastern Washington to just really talk to his family. And so we did. My husband, Eddie, and I went to Eastern Washington and really just talked to the family. Why do they need help? So they said, oh, our business visa has expired, and we had hired an immigration lawyer to do some immigration work for us so that then we can be permanent residents and eventually become U.S. citizens. But actually, he didn't do anything at all. And now we have received this letter from USCIS that we will be deported. So I said, okay, let me think about this. We went back to Seattle, and over the ride coming back to Seattle, Washington, I thought that maybe we should ask some community members what they feel about that. So actually, a lot of them said, oh, maybe you can help. And some others said, oh, no, don't help them. They are illegals. They're not supposed to be here. So I'm getting all of these varied reactions. But then with a prayer, I thought that, oh, maybe we should really help this family. So not to prevent the deportation of this whole family. A young couple with a laundromat business and with 3 young children, and she was having some medical problems like a brain tumor and was supposed to be going to the hospital, but then USCIS said that, oh, we can pick them up from the hospital bed to go to the airport. So I said, oh, because I made up my mind, I went to see Governor Gary Lake. I said, Governor, I think we really should help in the prevention of the deportation of this Filipino family. I said, this is the case. So I said, can you write a letter of support for this family to USCIS? Sure, he said. So we wrote that letter. I got it. He sent it, but I got the copy. And then I said, okay, I'm going to see Senator Patty Murray. I got another letter of support similar to the governor, Gary Lake, from Senator Patty Murray. Then I went up to the two state representatives of Sela, Washington, that was State Representative Jim Clements and the late Mary Skinner. And I got them. And of course, I also got community leaders to just do that letter of support to the USCIS for this family. I'm not disclosing the name for privacy reasons. I got all of these letters, but providentially, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs from the Philippines, Secretary Delia Albert, came for a 3-day visit and told me, can you please help me with a courtesy call with Governor Gary Lake? And I said, sure, of course. I did that. After the visit with Governor Gary Lake, something told me, put all of these letters in an envelope, because the Secretary Delia Albert was on her way to Washington, D.C. to have a meeting with with General Colin Powell, who was the Secretary of State of President George W. Bush. So I put all of these letters in an envelope and I told Secretary Albert, can you please give this package, this envelope, to General Colin Powell, and please let him give this to President George W. Bush. And she did. Now, another work of providence, President George W. Bush was coming to Bellevue for a campaign speech. So I said, okay, since I am with CAPA, with the Commission on Pacific American Affairs, and I was the past president of the Filipino American Political Action Group of Washington, I said, we are going to do a peaceful rally. So, okay, on the day that President George Bush was coming to Bellevue, there we were lined up, peaceful rally, with all of our placards saying, please don't deport this family. We just signed, waved, quietly, peacefully. The president waved back, and that was like a week. 2 weeks came and nothing, no word, as from the USCIS. 3rd week, the week before the deportation date, 6 o'clock in the morning, we got a knock at our door, and we were supposed to leave for the Philippines on that day in the afternoon, but 6 o'clock in the morning, we got a big knock, and it was the immigration lawyer, the new immigration lawyer of this family, Attorney Robert Mueller. And he said, good news, USCIS has a letter that this family can stay and can apply for permanent residency and then eventually be American citizens. The path to citizenship. And my goodness gracious, but wait, he said, we need a sponsor. Can you be a sponsor with your husband for this whole family? I said, by all means, yes. Give me the paper. So we decided everything. 3 months after, no word at all, but we were all just praying. 3 months after, they were able to become permanent residents, and then in a few months be able to apply for U.S. citizenship. So my message is really just like what Pope Francis did and said, who are we to judge? So just giving the opportunity to this family to stay. Now their children are like RNs. They are very well and good citizens, you know, as their neighbors have said, very helpful with everyone in the community. Now they are a very happy family. So I know that at this point in time, we have so many deportations right now, and we get so many reasons here and there. Oh, it's their fault. They didn't apply for this. It's their fault. They were like this. No, each one comes from a different case. No situation is the same. So we always have to give a chance. And I am rallying everyone. You just really be vigilant for each other at this point in time. That's for the political side of it. But for the religious side, if I still have time, that is, well, we came here in 1980, migrated here in 1980, but in 1992, because my father,
I just want to let you know you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay. So my father was, of course, you know, I was just going to be talking about Simbang Gabi, bringing that beautiful religious tradition from the Philippines that we all have come here. So in 1992, we started, my husband and I started the Simbang Gabi at our parish at St. Thomas More in Linwood. And that, in that beginning, you know, just because he was a choir director in our church in the Philippines, so he taught us the Simbang Gabi liturgy in Latin. So we spoke and we sang the liturgy in Latin. And we, after that first Simbang Gabi, we spread it to the other parishes until it is now being also celebrated by the Archdiocese of Seattle. So that was just one of those religious feasts that we love so much just because it's part of our heritage and which we are able to actually celebrate here. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can we give a virtual round of applause for Ellen for giving us that awesome historical deep dive of her timeline.
Yes.
You know, I'd like to take a moment because we're wrapping up, folks, and we're going to transition to one more awesome piece that Uncle Alan Bergano is going to lead us with. But with that, thank you to everyone that attended today. You know, thank you so much to all of the presenters. Thank you to anyone who watches this in the Filipino multiverse, no matter where you are in America or where you are in the Philippines or in the world. Because remember, folks, we're the #1 overseas worker in the world and we are global people. So with that said, I just want to say thank anyone and everyone who gets to be blessed to watch this particular piece. Thank you to all the presenters for being here. I'd like to shout out a couple of people. Of course, my dad, Dennis Ubungen, my mom, Josephine Ubungen. I want to take a shout out as well to any of the people that you've lost in your communities, only because it is an interesting time. So please love each other, appreciate each other, and, you know, stay blessed, folks. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Florentino Ubungen. My pronouns are he, him, sha, and I am a 4th-generation Filipino American. And I'm going to kick it over to Uncle Alan Bergano. Uncle Alan, it's all you.
Okay. As Alan comes on, I just want to
Yes.
encourage folks to please download Cynthia's videos on the chat regarding Kuya Greg. She put a lot of effort into it. I'm sorry for the technical glitch.
It happens. It happens. Okay. This is the moment here that I personally was waiting to happen for years. And that is to give a special recognition to a mentor of mine since, God, what, kindergarten? And I've seen her and her husband, Uncle Fred. They practically, you know, raised me as far as guidance, as far as mentally, and not physically, but mentally, because at one time we had no identity. I mean, I was born brown, I lived in a black neighborhood, and I lived in a white society. It's almost like I wasn't Filipino enough to be accepted as a Filipino. I wasn't white enough to be accepted as white, and I wasn't black enough. So if I was, that type of quandary was kind of like posed to a lot of my people, a lot of my neighbors, Filipino Americans living in Seattle. That's what that neighborhood was like. And through the work of Uncle Fred and Auntie Dorothy, they gave me a name. They gave me an identity. But she didn't just stop there. Then she founded FANHS. Not only do I have identity, now I have a history. And so when you start thinking about when was the term Filipino American used? And that was the consciousness back in 1971 with the Far West Convention. At one time, they used to spell Filipino American with a hyphen in there. But eventually people started to catch on to the work of Uncle Fred and Auntie Dorothy. So respectfully, we're going to honor Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred. And thank you guys for being here. And at this time, I'll turn it over to two of our speakers. We'll start off with Edwina, who was one of her first interns at FANHS. Go ahead, Edwina.
Hello again, everyone. This is a special part of the program. I just wanted to say, Auntie Dorothy, we first met like 46 years ago in 1979 when I was a very young person through my then boyfriend, now husband, Alan Bergano. I was honored to be on the writing team to publish the first book on the Filipino American experiences called Filipinos, Forgotten Asian American. I was there when the academics did not think highly of this book. Think highly of this book because many of us did not have a PhD, but what we had was passion to tell our stories. Thank you for mentoring me and advising me in all my projects through the years, 46 years. It has been a pleasure to share the vision that you and Uncle Fred had taught us and bring this passion to the East Coast. I'll never forget you telling me that bring your enemies close because in the end, they will be your greatest supporter. I have used that advice in everything I do, and it's so true. And so it's my pleasure to introduce to everyone Julie Jamero, who we met 23 years ago when she was 12 years old, to say a couple words to show you how the vision of our work goes beyond the next generation. Julie, you want to say something for a couple words? Julie Jamero.
Yes. Thank you so much, Edwina. Yeah, my name is Julie Hamora. I was born and raised in Hampton Roads, here in Virginia Beach, and Edwina, Doc, they were my mentors growing up, and I learned at an early age the power of knowing your history, the power of being in an intergenerational community. I joined FANHS Hampton Roads at 12 years old. I actually attended I was doing the math, and I attended my first conference at 11 years old in 2000 at the Virginia Wesleyan Conference. Some of you were there. You may have remembered me. I was a very tiny young Filipino girl tumbling through the halls. I was doing gymnastics at the time, but attended my first real conference when I was 15 at the 2004 conference in St. Louis. And those were the moments I had the fortunate opportunity to meet Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred. So in honoring Auntie Dorothy, I want to uplift how her lifelong commitment to the preservation, documentation, and amplification of our Filipino American history has left impacts that can be felt for generations. I'm certainly a testament to that. It's had a ripple effect that has contributed to future generations of community historians, academics, cultural workers, archivists, and even community organizers and activists like myself. Without the work of FANHS and the many mentors that I had growing up, like Edwina and Alan Bergano, who were mentored by Auntie Dorothy, and also another mentor I had, Ray Obispo. But also want to shout out the powerful Filipinas that I met that came to the South, that came to our little community here in Hampton Roads, like Auntie Joni and Auntie Emily. I truly would not be the community organizer that I am today. They helped me learn that in at a young age. History is not just a passive thing that we learn for learning's sake, but it's an opportunity to change the course of history, to actually fight for more equality and justice for our people. So I do organize today with a few groups like the Malaya Movement, the Tango Migrante Movement, and the Hampton Roads Coalition for Filipino seafarers. And it's very important at this time with the rise of anti-immigrant and anti-migrant attacks on our community to really fight for the unfolding legacy of history, to document these histories of our Filipinos in ICE detention, of seafarers who are being unjustly deported from Norfolk here. So once again, maraming salamat, Auntie Dorothy, for your lifelong legacy and the many generations you will continue to impact. And even we haven't worked so closely together, it's very clear through my mentors and hopefully the people that I'm working with and organizing that your legacy lives on through us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. My goodness. Woo. Thank you, Julie. At the last minute, I was trying to figure out, okay, who really understands and takes advantage, but they have a major influence in their work. And so these next three speakers, they graciously took the time out to be here tonight. The first one I'd like to introduce to you is Dr. Luisa Igloria. She is the Virginia Poet Laureate, but she's famous. And trust me, if you read her bio, I don't have her bio in front of me, but it's pretty impressive. But I met Luisa was about 1997 when she first stepped foot in America. And eventually she's grown, and I think she told me she writes a poem a day, one poem a day. And she's over 10,000 now. So I asked her a favor if she could write a poem as far as what Auntie Dorothy means to her. So Luisa, take it over.
Thank you so much, Alan. I did not actually write a poem. Perhaps I misread the instruction, but I did spend time looking for poems that I feel will encapsulate the sentiments that everyone is bringing to the table here. First of all, I want to say that FANHS is my first introduction to the Filipino community here in Hampton Roads when I arrived 28 years ago to teach at Old Dominion. And thanks to Alan and Edwina, that circle has just continued to grow. And I also want to say that the legacy and the work of Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred is really so meaningful because it tells us that history is not a big abstract thing. It's made up of our stories on the ground, our lived experiences. And sometimes we forget the big picture for the small picture or vice versa, but we are very important in telling our stories. So I am going to read two short poems. They're related to each other. I wrote them sometime during the years that I was serving as Poet Laureate of Virginia from 2020 to 22. And I will put a link to one because it was published also in a journal. I'll read that first. It's called San Malo. And I mean, today is also October 18, which is the anniversary of the first Filipinos arriving in Morro Bay. But this poem is something that commemorates the arrival of Filipinos in Louisiana sometime in the 1760s. So I'll read this first, San Malo. No birds, no boats are visible on the water, which roils and foams as if an acreage of cotton rippled from a whip or a prod above and below. You could say it doesn't take much to feel how little influence we have in a world we once thought we could make our home. My people leaped ashore from the blue-black hold of a three-masted ship, sick of salt winds, aching for the remembered tenderness of bodies before they wore a harness or bent under cargoes of cotton and silk, amber, cassia bark. Never mind that the bruise from such a severance might not heal. Never mind that water, old sojourner, restless tenant, still winds through the centuries, through houses on stilts in the middle of an estuary before fanning back out to sea. And I'll read just one more poem. It's called simply America. Thank you, Alan. America, you were the cousin who joined a beauty contest the year before her visa application cleared so she could be a nurse somewhere in Rochester, New Jersey. She didn't think a roll of sheepskin inked with her name and St. Louis University would be enough. Soon after, she sent pictures of the doctor she would marry. America, we like to think there might have been love and not just a green card. We hear they're still together in their dotage. America, you were another cousin slowly dying from cancer, alone in an apartment in Maryland. I knew her only by name and the photographs she sent, her stylish bob, her cigarettes and drugstore-bought dark glasses. The patent leather Mary Jane she sent one Christmas, the walking doll with flaxen hair, white lace bib and pinafore, the vacant eyes that opened and closed and give me nightmares even now. And you were a certain smell before we even began to understand what you really were, synthetic and abnormally clean, like Clorox or Windex with a bottom note of soda left open in the sun. It wafted up from a box that took 2 months to ship from your flank or your hip or armpit. Wherever it was, people like us found neighborhoods where they could rent walk-ups, whose stairwells overflowed with steam from rice pots. America, we can shine and scrub your floors without a Hoover or a Roomba, then punch holes in the bottom of fruit cocktail cans so we can grow bird chilies and tomatoes on the veranda. We let a dentist in our old hometown pull out all our teeth so you wouldn't get the chance to do it and charge us triple. There is a fish we like to eat whose belly is soft and sweet and full of fat, but every bone in its body is a tree that bristles with more than a dozen spears. Like you, America, if we're not careful, we could choke on even the smallest mouthful. Thank you.
Thank you, Louisa. Yeah. Okay, before I continue, I I have to give Tino a shout out. This is probably one of the toughest sessions that he handled. We had so many speakers and he politely cut people off with passion. So props to you, Dr. Tino, president of Seattle chapter. You got a future, young man.
Appreciate you, Uncle. Appreciate you.
Okay. Hey, come on, you guys. Let's give him a hand. You know he did a great job. Come on. So our next speaker, he he was my next door neighbor. And I never knew the boy could write. I didn't know he could write. All I saw him do was read. Everywhere he went, he was reading. Even playing basketball, he'd be reading. But he not only writes, he's probably the most prolific second generation Filipino American author in the world. So I would like to introduce to you my brother, my next door neighbor, Peter Bacho.
Alan. Hi, Dorothy. How you doing? I'm going to read this. This is an excerpt from Map 2, which is contained in my collection, Uncle Rico's Encore, about the community in Seattle that we were all raised in. And it's about Immaculate Conception, which we all know very well. The floors belong to Immaculate Conception Parish. Same with the Lunas, the Israels, the Galarosas, the Raguduses, the Delmas, the Ogilvies, the Farrells, the Villaflores, the Beltrans, and a long list of others. I stay in touch with many of them. Over the years, hundreds of Pinoys were baptized and confirmed in this dark Calvinist church. It's where many of us took our first communion and confessed our sins, where we joined in marriage and mourned our dead. Immaculate was also the spiritual home of the late Fred Cordova. He and his wife Dorothy are two Pinoy legends. They are also among the best human beings I have ever known. In 1957, they founded Filipino Youth Activities, which sponsored sports teams, classes on Filipino culture, deep discussions on Filipino history and identity. And in 1959, an award-winning drill team that more than 60 years later still rocks the show at Seattle's famed Torchlight Parade. As a kid, I loved attending the Torchlight and other summer parades. I loved watching the FYA drill team. I still do. Dot, dot, dot. Two quick beats followed by a pause third. These were the signature rhythmic sounds of the ends of bamboo sticks hitting pavement. Then came Fred's whistle, the clanging of a cowbell, and the pulsing Latin and moral drum beats of the percussioneers. The drill team was heard first, then seen. This has not changed. When they passed me, I was focused, excited. I loved the precision, the elegance, the head-tilting, jaw-jutting arrogance of the girls in their long red dresses, keeping time with their sticks, and the focus of the boys pounding beats in their black slacks and green tunics. I loved hearing the applause and whistles from onlookers. I loved hearing the oohs. I was proud of the drill team and all that it represented. When Fred died in 2014, the funeral at Immaculate was packed, standing room only, a fitting testament to his life. His death was a devastating loss to his family, but it was a loss to us as well. His body lay in an open casket. I bent over and kissed his forehead. Fred was wearing the jersey of his favorite Seahawk, Doug Baldwin, who was Filipino on his mother's side. Of course. I walked over to console Dorothy. Fred loved you, she whispered. I know, I loved him too. Later, I wrote to a friend. He made it easy for me to be a young Filipino in Seattle. I was not the only one. This is to you both.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Our next speaker is Emily Lawson. She was also an intern there with Auntie Dorothy. I remember sitting at the second FANHS conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. Seated with me was Emily, Joni, and Edwina. We looked around and said, God, you know, we're the youngest people in here. And so, what, years later, we're like some of the oldest ones on this screen. But anyway, thank you, Emily, for showing up. She's, what, you're in Los Angeles? Or she's been traveling,
No.
but she took the time out to be here tonight. So,
Thank you.
Emily,
Today
go
I'm in
ahead.
Kirkland, but thank you. And thank you to Mono Peter for that beautiful piece. That's my favorite piece in Uncle Rico's Encore, of course. And thank you to Poet Laureate Luisa Gloria. I'm a big fan of both of them, so it's hard for me to follow. But before I read a poem, and I'll just have you know that Alan, dear Doc, asked us 2 days ago to do this. So bear with us. But first, I want to say thank you to Auntie Dorothy, really, just from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Auntie Dorothy, for a lifetime of journeys around the world, starting with the FYA, the UW, and FANHS. I would not be where I am today without you and your guidance since I was 11 years old, and I'm eternally grateful to you for that. I wrote this poem 31 years ago. A lot of you may know it. It actually was 31 years ago. I was an infant. And it was inspired by Auntie Dorothy and my activist friends when I was living in LA. And it has become one of my trademark poems. And I rewrote it an hour ago in honor of Auntie. Do y'all know what a diva is? Yeah, you will now. Diba, D-I-B as in babae, D-I-B-A in Filipino and Tagalog loosely translates to right, isn't it so? Y'all know, so sing along. This is rewritten from Mata is a diva to Auntie Dorothy is a diva. Diba. We call her Auntie D, as in Dorothy, or the lean back model move the Dorothea. Khalifa, head Pinay in charge, founder of our motherships, FYA, FWC, DPAA, and FANHS. Not aunt, but Auntie D, said all in one. She's the woman who defies us, US of a stereotype popularity, not a bubbling, babbling BIT of a Chiquita banana, yellow face, white bread mentality. But the Pinay's her story, that is reality. In totality, it ain't no wonder. She crushes the violent patronizing of Eurocentric history and flushes them down the toil. It's not enough. So she conquers Seattle's streets, telling a wart-nosed cop that under municipal code number 2656, we can wage a massive protest, civil rights protest, provided she keeps us on the move. Auntie is a diva. So instead of walking us in your typical circles, she sends us in lightning moving suburbia spirals like tornadoes whipping unshielded storefronts. Auntie is a diva. Diva. She worked hard behind the scenes, ran a coffee shop on Broadway, then founded DPAA and FANHS, selling lumpia and t-shirts and managing the building to pay the rent. A throwback to her childhood at Immaculate when the nuns had her wiping the oil off the radiators and clapping erasers outside to pay her school tuition. Auntie, now at 93 years young, is a diva. Diva. She birthed 8 kids, raised and mentored thousands more during the Filipino-American movement, but she is more than a WOMB, man, with her saber-like tongue, gleaming Ilocano skin and Chaco eyes. She burns fire into the souls of Pinoy folk, making us look back at Pinay women legends of the U.S., not including Imelda, the crooked shoe queen, of course. So we studied Rufina Clemente Jenkins, who was stronger than Eve, the first war bride diva of all divas, who settled in Fort Lawton with her Buffalo Soldier and mixed race children at the turn of the 20th century. And Victoria Manalo Draves, her name meaning win-win, a 2-time gold medalist in diving at the 1948 Olympics, a real live woman warrior before Maxine Hong Kingston made it fiction. But Auntie is more than a teacher, diva. She's the mother of all lands that resist using our bodies as basis of war. She is like a book of ages and time that can't stand still. She is a roaring river who don't need to beg to be heard. She is the strong waves of her story, of our revelations, of our liberation. Auntie Dr. Dorothy Ligo Cordova is a diva. Yes.
Yeah.
Maraming salamat. Thank
feel
you for
that.
Go ahead,
everything.
Emily. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, this next section is the actual award we're presenting to you, Auntie Dorothy. We're very, very fortunate to have Abe Manor and Ben Manor. And I really don't see, when you guys roll with me, everything's spontaneous. So I'm gonna leave it up to the Manors to figure out how we're gonna present this. So Ben, what do you think? You have Abe, do you have a picture of the award, and then Abe could describe it?
I believe Arnell has that. Arnell, can you put that on the screen, please? I can't hear you.
We said wait 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was going to be showing that. So give me 1 second and I'll show it.
Oh, you mean you didn't get the text from?
They can hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let me first of all congratulate Auntie Dorothy, but more important, this is probably one of the best spent weekend that I can imagine in my years of FANHS, and that poem just took me off my feet. Emily, knowing you when you were just a young teenager chasing one of my Tamaral dancers at Mountain View High School. And I see Auntie Manang Rosita Lee, and unfortunately, technology hasn't caught up with her, so one day she'll be on time. And when Alan came to me, because I've been bitching, and I have for probably 20 years, of why have we not properly recognized and honored the two greatest folks in many of our lives, Uncle Fred and Auntie Dorothy? And he said, well, I don't know, maybe because we take them for granted. And I said, that ain't right. That ain't right. And so we need to, when we honor those who came before us. Well, they are the ones who have been for us. So then Alan jumped on me and said, okay, so how do we want to do this? Well, I got the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden, and, everybody's got that. I said, nah, we don't want to put an achievement on there. I said, let's give her what she has done to make us proud, and that's legacy. So that's when I recommended to Alan, let's call it the Lifetime Legacy Award. And of course, hopefully this can be perpetuity for those who deserve it, of those who serve FANHS. And so we went forward with that. And then the next day, my son, everybody knows him, Adi, sent me this. And he was having an art gallery show. You know him as a great artist and photographer. And he said that, I don't know if you can see this. Where's that camera? Can you see it?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
I could show it, Dad, because you
Okay.
have
Oh,
it.
okay. No, yeah, there you go.
There you go. See, and so Threads of Our Roots. And he said to me, Dad, can you give maybe a description of what you think this is? I dug deep and I, looked at it. He's got Banig behind it. And I know that Banig has a very special part of our culture, as well as it has multiple meanings. And so he and I came up with what we think that his thread of our roots are. And we said, let's translate it into this award. And I would like to have Abi to go ahead and read it as soon as you could see the award first, and then you could understand why. The design with the banig in the background, and then the plaque is more like a shape of a heart. And so symbolic of who our dear Auntie Dorothy is about. And man, if I could fit that poem that Emil and the professor from the Old Dominion, and could put that somewhere in those background of the Banig, I think it would be fulfilling.
Before you start, Ben.
Yeah.
Arnell does not have your picture of the award. So can you email that to him?
Yeah,
And
I never got it.
I sent it to Alan. I worked on,
Wait, before
Arnell is the tech guy.
Before you elders, let me just do some Zoom etiquette.
Yeah, go ahead, Abraham.
Y'all could go on mute and then chat each other, and we'll utilize this time correctly. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Abe Minor. Hi, Auntie Dorothy, and everyone here for organizing this and being present. Doc hit me up this morning as I was stepping out to go to an action, a No Kings action. And I said, Doc, I might not make it home, so I don't even know if I could attend this. And he said, well, just don't get arrested. And, I know how to not get arrested. So I said, okay, well, I will do my best to make it on the call. I never drive when I go to an action in case I ever do get arrested. I don't want my car being left anywhere, so I usually take public transportation or walk. And I was literally running in our hot weather, 78 degrees, to be here for you all and Auntie Dorothy. Real quick background. I liked how we had the timer for the other the presentations. Can you put the timer up so I could pay attention as an Ilocano? No. But the the thing behind Threads of Our
Told
Roots,
Ben to.
I've always wanted to do a all Filipino artists art show in the historic Pinoy town here in San Jose. And I collaborated with one of the Filipino-owned businesses, galleries in Pinoy town to host it. And so we had 25 artists. We were coming up with titles and a flyer idea. And I'll tell you this, the next generation are very creative, but they're depending a lot on AI to help uh, brainstorm their creativity. So they were coming up with these crazy images as far as a flyer idea, and it was all Chat GPT generated. And I said, well, no, I'm going to just do something simple. We're going to take an image of a banig because Threads of Our Roots can connect with the meaning behind the banig. So we hosted a 25 artist show, and I shared the image with my dad because I wanted to just get his first impression. And he didn't know. He wrote this whole thing up. I was just expecting a looks good, son, or yeah, that's great. But he wrote this whole description up, and I think this is definitely a testament and tribute to Auntie Dorothy as far as the impact and influence that Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred has not only on my father's life, but also my life. Uh, every time I do an art show, and it could, I don't know if you all might understand this, but a lot of times when I do things, it's not necessarily just community based because I like to include everyone and expose different types of folks who might not be connected to culture, history, or community, but they're Filipino. And I like to bring them in so then that way I can use the platform as a vehicle for education, right? And so every time I do something, FANHS or anything that I'm involved with has a little bit of a seed in there. So then that way, whoever is touched or whoever's present um, is there at that time could take something away from it. And so definitely FANHS has done that. Dad, I see your face. Like I'm trying to buy you time right now. And everyone's gonna start falling asleep. It's already like nighttime in the East Coast, merienda time over here. But anyhow, Auntie Dorothy, the art show, even if it's not stating it's dedicated to you, the art show that I was able to host and curate was definitely a lot of your energy, your ideas, your inspirations, all the times that I've been able to have with you one to one. I'm so glad as I'm older now, I just take a trip up to Seattle and I'm saying, I'm going to go see Auntie Dorothy. Hey, Auntie Emily, are you around? Because I'm going to go see Auntie Dorothy. Hopefully I could kill, 20 million birds with one stone. Um, but all the times that you and I get to talk, like I take away from our conversations the importance of making sure to continue sharing, spreading, giving our history, our presence, our struggles, and the legacy that you and Uncle Fred and the community has been able to provide and give us. Dad, are you still, should I just hold I'm just going to hold this up and then there's no struggle. So anyhow, my dad wrote this thing, he sent it in text. I thought it was Chat GPT generated because it was that the writing was really good. And I was like, oh, I forgot. It's my dad. He knows technology, but maybe not that well. So I know he wrote it from the heart. And it took him about 4 hours to get back to me. I just wanted a yes or no. Is the design good? Yes or no? And then he sent this long not long, but he sent this long writing, and I included it in the show without telling him. And Auntie Dorothy and Uncle Fred would get mad at me a lot of the times because I would never sign my artwork or I would never say anything. I just want to put it out there. And if it touches you, it touches you. And if you know it's me, great. If you don't, it's okay. The most important thing is it resonated. It stuck with you as you were there. But I put it in the art show as the description of the art show. And so, Dad, when you're ready to read,
I'm
I will put
trying. Arnell, send me your email because I'm having issues trying to email mine out.
So
Okay.
I found an old email that shows a video. Is that what you guys trying to get me to?
No, it's just the image of the award.
Yeah, I emailed you already. My
Oh, you
email.
did?
Yep.
Okay, let me get that.
All right, Dad. As a true professional, as you have taught me and groomed me, I'm going to go ahead and read the
Go
description.
ahead. Go ahead.
So
Thank you.
again, threads of our roots. And the background of threads of our roots is a banig. So this is the actual text that he sent me. So I sent him the image. Dad, what are your first thoughts when you see this design? I have some great responses and themes. Give me 30 minutes. 4 hours later. Abe, this is long, but this image and wording are thought-provoking. I hope these ideas work. This is a beautiful and invocative phrase. Pairing threads of our roots with a Philippine benigmat is an incredibly powerful combination. Here are my first thoughts, and then some suggestions to deepen the compelling feelings. First thoughts and impressions when I see threads of our roots against the backdrop of a benig, my mind immediately goes to these concepts. Tangible metaphor. The benig is the perfect physical embodiment of the phrase. It's not just a backdrop, it is the threads of roots made visible. Each strip of dried leaf, buri, pandan, is an individual story, a person, a single lineage. The act of weaving them together is the creation of family, community, and culture. Labor of love. A benig is not mass-produced. It is hand-woven with skill, patience, and intention passed down through generations. This connects the roots to the idea of ancestral knowledge, craftsmanship, and the hard work our forebears put into building a life for us. Community and foundation. The benig is a communal object. It's where families gather, sleep, eat, and tell stories. It is the literal foundation of Filipino homes' social space. It represents togetherness, humility, and the ground upon which we are raised. And that was from Bennyroyce. We are dedicating that to Auntie Dorothy Nago Cordova.
I think I have it now. I think I have it.
It's over. Arnell, it's good.
Yeah, either way. I appreciate it, guys.
So Dad, go ahead and close out so then your brain doesn't explode.
Well, thank you, son.
I shared it. Did you guys see it?
No, that's
No?
Arnell, you should got the latest because the first one that was shown only had Auntie Dorothy Cordova's name, and I forgot that LIGO needs to be part of it. So the newer version.
Well,
Did you get that?
the good news is Auntie Dorothy's going to be has a special retirement dinner on the 30th of October. And I'm going to be there, Auntie Dorothy, to present that to you specifically. So at this time, I'm going to leave it open to anybody that want to say, no, let me have Auntie Dorothy talk. She's been listening for the past 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure Auntie Dorothy would like to say a few words. So Auntie Dorothy, let's give her a hand. Come on, everybody. Okay, Auntie Dorothy, you've got the floor.
So anyway, at 93, I don't have a voice anymore. I'm mentally, I'm great. Physically, I'm disappearing. So about the most I can say is thank you to all of you for your years of friendship and buying into some of the crazy ideas Fred and I may have had, you know, will have passed. But you didn't judge us that we were going down the wrong path. I think especially now, one thing I would like to say, because today is the big march against having a king in our country. And there's so many more things we could have said. We kind of wonder, we're 501c3, but who cares, you know? A lot of what FANHS does, in fact, everything we do, has been declared almost anti-American to some people in power. And I think whoever's left listening to this, they have to understand that. We started FANHS because the same thing was said again 42 years ago, but not as harshly as it is today. It was just called deconstructive. They weren't going to give any more money to women history and minority history. The only history worthwhile at that time was written by white men. Oh, that's about us. Well, yeah, really? And so we decided to go on it on our own, and that's why FANHS started. We were really grassroots. And because we were grassroots, we were able to gather the history of the people who were down there, the people who were foundation. But you know, you have to understand that foundations grow. So the next group of people who came with another set of foundations and foundation. You have to continue doing it, but don't forget the past. And so I thank all of you who believed in this, who continued the gathering, and people like me, so many people who started FANHS, bought into it 42 years ago, are no longer here. So faces I'm looking at right now, yeah, you, Emily, you started with me when you were 16. You are now the Manons, the Manons. You're the history carriers, the sharers that's going to go on in the past. So gradually over this year, we will be passing the torch on to you. And we thank you for being with us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is, I forgot we were recording this, so everything's gonna be sent out. So I'm gonna stop recording.
No,
and then
no,
we're going
no,
to.
Alan, no, please don't. This is very historic.
Okay,
Yeah, you cannot.
you
The
have
voice,
something to say there, Mr. Manor?
I'm just pleased that when Alan and Edwina came up with this maniac idea, because we are all so busy, I realize now that everybody in FANHS should be on this call, number one, as well as NaFFAA, number two. And I hope that we can do this again because, as Auntie Dorothy has said to me many, many years ago, we have to share and share it to the next generations. Because if we don't, then we repeat history the way the white man has caused us to have be invisible. So, Alan, thank you very much, and please keep this recorded because those who are not here today, I would be out there protesting too, Auntie Dorothy, but I knew this was important for you, so I wanted to. There'll be another day to protest against the king, so this is a day for you. So thank you very much, Alan and Edwina, and everybody else.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons I really wanted to do this is we need to recognize our heroes while they are still alive.
Yes.
You know, because it's you go to somebody dies, you go, dang, we forgot to die. Blah, blah, blah. So, Auntie Dorothy, you caught us on the top of our game. You know, we're doing Zoom, and the recording is going to be forever. Remember that, forever.
Yeah.
So, anybody want to say?
Yeah. Oh, before Alan, I posted on the chat. Can everybody see the award?
Yeah, we posted it about 3 times, so it's there.
Okay.
I'm going to be in Seattle to present it to you personally, Auntie Dorothy. So I have to stop the recording because you know. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the recording, then I'm gonna leave it open to anybody to say anything to Auntie Dorothy, okay? Well, before I stop the recording, thank you guys. It's been a long session. It's been a very entertaining session. Tino, fantastic job. All the speakers that contributed tonight. I mean, this is a well-run machine tonight. And I'm just so proud that, you guys showed up. And I'm pretty sure when you watch the recordings and it's going to be played over and over on YouTube or whatever, people are going to say, damn, I missed that.
Alan, don't turn off the recording, because I think people want to say something so they can be part of the recording.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah,
is
this is historic. So go ahead.
Thank you, Edwina. Also, can we take a group picture? Again,
I don't know how to do that.
Well, I did a screenshot, but
Arnell, give us
Arnell,
instruction.
I have
So
to
we can-
I have to unpin everyone who's on the screen right now, because these are everyone that we're going to present to Auntie Dorothy.
Julie,
So
Julie's
let me
the
turn
youngest.
that off.
Julie knows how to do technology.
and
Yeah,
Dr.
I'm doing it.
Joni's here. Are you
Who?
here or
Is
in the
she
Philippines?
really?
Yeah, she's here.
Okay, let's take the picture first, and then we can start talking. Take the picture first.
Hold on.
Okay.
Wait, I have to brush my teeth.
Okay, this is a historic moment. Just a couple more. We're already over 3 hours now.
Don't put.
They're gonna
don't
cut it
make any messages because it pops up on the screen.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to change the view. Give me a second.
All right, I'm gonna do mine.
There you go.
Okay. Oh,
Who's taking the picture?
Hey, Johnny.
Joni?
Okay, you taking the picture, Arnell?
Who's taking the picture?
I don't know. I can't.
I assigned it to Julie. I assigned it to. She's the
Okay,
youngest one.
I can take the picture. I'll take the picture. Is everyone ready?
You gotta go 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm gonna count to 3, and there's 2 windows, so you don't know which window you're in. So just keep smiling. 1, 2, 3.
Eat cheese. Remember, squeeze, compress.
Okay, I got one more window. Hold that smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Wait.
Oh.
One more.
There you go.
Are y'all ready? Okay, one more.
I thought Dr. Tino did.
Well, someone just blacked out the screen.
All right, we're good.
Okay, go ahead, because we only got
Thank
limited time
you.
on the Zoom. Just gotta make it quick.
I have to turn this off because they're gonna just erase the whole thing, okay?
Go
Oh man, it's historic.
Thank you.